Chapter 1075. Master Lu thought of his young and promising sect master who respected his master and Tao, and also sighed with emotion. Muyu, this child has extraordinary potential. When I first saw him, I treated him as a servant. I'm ashamed to think about it. How could I have thought that he would come to this point? I really hope to see Muyu lead our formation sect to a new height and restore the glory of the formation glyph sect. He will avenge us. Let's wait for the people of Five Mountains Alliance to tell us the news on the road to the underworld. Tai Shashing had just dismembered the Southern Way Daoist and swallowed his heart in front of everyone, which shocked the surrounding self-cultivators. Then who should I kill next? Tai Shashing slowly walked over to Lu Xianshi and Sitiyang Tian with a mocking expression on his stiff face. Then he grabbed Lu Xianshi, who was covered in wounds, and said, "I'll kill you first." Master Lu spat on Tai Shashing and said contemptuously, "We'll meet on the road to the underworld soon." Tai Shashing revealed his yellow teeth and laughed. "You're wrong. The King of Hell will not take in the people of the Life and Death sect because the three palaces are the underworld. We won't die." Master Lu replied disdainfully, "If you want to kill me, just kill me. Why are you talking so much nonsense?" Tai Shashing looked at Lu Xian from head to toe, his withered fingers moving on Lu Xian's body as he smiled miserably and said, "It's not that easy for you to die. Let me think about how to kill you. First, I'll dig out your eyes, peel off your skin, and remove your spine. What do you think?" Master Lu spat again. Tai Shashing's killing methods were really cruel, but he still said fearlessly, "Just kill me. If I beg for mercy, I lose. You have backbone, you have backbone. I like people like you who have a backbone. However, no one who falls into my hands won't scream. I'll keep their tongues and let them curse and scream. That sound is extremely beautiful." Tai Shashing stretched out his long yellow fingernails and scratched Master Lu's neck, leaving a dark red mark on his neck. Master Lu's expression did not change as he looked coldly at Tai Shashing. "I've thought about it. I like to turn people with backbone into spineless people. My Life and Death sect's killing method can only cut a wound and shatter all the bones in a person's body bit by bit. Then, I like to see how far you can go." Tai Shashing suddenly reached out and dug his fingernails into Master Lu's spine. Master Lu clenched his teeth. A wave of pain spread through his entire body, but he didn't cry out. He still said contemptuously, "Someone will avenge us." "Really? Then you won't be able to see it," Tai Shashing said darkly. "Who says he can't see?" An indifferent voice resounded over the city gate tower. This familiar voice startled Master Lu, and a look of joy appeared on his face. Tai Shashing's expression changed. He sensed danger approaching, and he was just about to withdraw his hand when he noticed that his arm had been destroyed. "You don't deserve to die for hurting my people." Muyu raised his hand, and Tai Shashing, who was originally arrogant, flew heavily to the ground, creating a huge crater. "Who is this person? I don't know. Oh my God." Tai Shashing, who is in the tribulation stage, was defeated in one move. "I never knew there was such a powerful person. Does he want to go against the Five Mountains Alliance? It's best to kill Tai Shashing. This person from a Life and Death sect is too vicious." The moment the surrounding self-cultivators saw Muyu appear, they were already discussing animatedly. They were all amazed by the green-robed man in the air. They didn't expect that someone would dare to stand out and go against the Five Mountains Alliance in the face of their swift and decisive methods. However, Muyu had always used the 100 Faces illusion array when he traveled in the cultivation world. Only those who had his permission could see his true face through the 100 Faces illusion array. The people present did not know Muyu's identity. However, the two people in the air knew. "Muyu." Master Lu weakly smiled. His worrisome sect master had actually rushed over at this time. His heart was also filled with excitement. "Master Lu, Master Situ, I'm sorry to have made you suffer." Muyu saved the two of them guiltily. Xiao Shui fixed the hawthorn tree in the air and hurriedly flew over to help them heal their injuries. "We're fine. I thought you were still in seclusion." When Master Lu and Sitiyang Tian came out this time, Muyu was still cultivating and was unaware of many things. Situ Yangtian also heaved a sigh of relief. Muyu, I didn't expect you to appear in this place. We just happened to pass by. Don't worry, these people will pay the corresponding price. Muyu's Muling had condensed a powerful vitality that surrounded Master Lu and Situ Yangtian's bodies, helping them heal their wounds quickly. Xiao Shui chewed the hawthorn while healing them. He said incoherently, I told you that finding food here was the right choice. You didn't believe me. Muyu stood up slowly. Looking at the corpses that had been cruelly killed, he was also furious. These people were not willing to live under the lies of the Five Mountains Alliance and the Sanchong Palace. They wanted to resist, but they were killed by Tai Shasheng. Even their corpses were not complete. It was intolerable. Tai Shasheng, right? Muyu grabbed the air and caught Tai Shasheng in front of him like a dead dog. Who are you? How dare you go against the Five Mountains Alliance? Tai Shasheng roared angrily. Although his cultivation was only at the first level of the tribulation stage, as a member of the life and death sect, his physical quality was extremely strong. However, he was still vulnerable in front of Muyu. Five Mountains Alliance. What's the big deal? Muyu waved his hand coldly. Tai Shasheng screamed. There was a big hole in his dantian. His tribulation stage cultivation was completely destroyed. How dare you? How dare you? Tai Shasheng was terrified. He had not expected Muyu to be so ruthless. You have killed so many people. It's time for you to pay the price. As soon as Muyu released his grip, Tai Shasheng crashed into the crowd like a dead dog. His voice rang out in everyone's ears. I have already crippled this man's cultivation. If any of you want to vent your anger on him, feel free to do so. The surrounding self-cultivators were shocked to see the half-dead Tai Shasheng lying on the ground. There was no fluctuation of cultivation on his body. They had not expected Tai Shasheng, who was at the tribulation stage, to be destroyed so easily. He had been enjoying the pleasure of killing people at first, but in the blink of an eye, he had become an ordinary person who could be slaughtered. This guy killed so many people using all kinds of cruel methods. It's time for him to pay the price. I really want to chop off his head and feed it to the dogs. He killed so many good people. What a bastard. No, there's still wolf-slaying Taoist here. If he pursues the matter, we are doomed. Yeah, wolf-slaying Taoist is even more powerful than Tai Shasheng, who kills people like flies. Everyone surrounded him, but no one dared to attack him. Although Tai Shasheng had committed all kinds of evil and killed many self-cultivators, many people despised him. However, the situation was still unclear. There was still wolf-slaying Taoist, who was at the second firmament of the tribulation stage in this city. He was not to be underestimated. If wolf-slaying Taoist found out, they would not be able to bear his anger. At that moment, someone shouted, Taoist wolf-slaying is here. The crowd immediately quieted down. Wolf-slaying Taoist was more powerful than Tai Shasheng. They could not bear his anger. Taoist wolf-slayer's figure also appeared in the void and walked to the opposite side of Muyu. Is wolf-slaying Taoist going to attack this young man? Wolf-slaying Taoist is the Grand Elder of Xianling's sect. He is very powerful. If he attacks, I'm afraid this young man won't be able to handle it. Yeah. We'd better leave quickly. I'm afraid there's going to be a huge battle here. If they fight, wolf-slaying Taoist won't show mercy. The surrounding self-cultivators were afraid of wolf-slaying Taoist cultivation level. Wolf-slaying Taoist reputation was comparable to Tai Shasheng's. The people they killed were all righteous people who disobeyed the rules of Five Mountains Alliance. Wolf-slaying Taoist, kill him. Tear him into pieces. How dare he challenge the dignity of Five Mountains Alliance? Tai Shasheng, who was lying on the ground like a dead dog, roared furiously. His voice was extremely shrill, and his eyes were filled with hatred as he looked at Muyu. Wolf-slaying Taoist glanced at Tai Shasheng indifferently. Wolf-slaying Taoist is moving. Is he going to attack this person? I don't know who will win this battle. Everyone looked nervously at Wolf-slaying Taoist, who was in the air. Just as everyone thought that wolf-slaying Taoist was going to attack Muyu, no one expected him to kneel down in front of Muyu. Everyone was stunned. wolf-slaying Taoist, who was in the tribulation transcendent stage, actually knelt down. Master, wolf-slaying Taoist had already been controlled by Mu Yu's divine soul array again. He had no self-consciousness. You people from Five Mountains Alliance have killed so many self-cultivators who still had a conscience. You want to control self-cultivators by killing them? Destroy your own cultivation. Mu Yu said indifferently. Yes. Wolf-slaying Taoist immediately activated his cultivation technique. His face flushed red, and he grabbed his dantian with one hand. Wolf-slaying Taoist's body was like a kite with a broken string in the air. He fell heavily into the crowd and landed beside Tai Shasheng. He had lost his cultivation and was completely a cripple. Tai Shasheng was stunned. He had hoped that wolf-slaying Taoist would avenge him, but he had not expected wolf-slaying Taoist to destroy himself and end up like him. Chapter 1076. Mu Yu glanced around and saw that everyone was looking at him quietly. He removed the 100 Faces illusory formation indifferently and revealed his true appearance in front of everyone. Then he said, "The Five Mountains Alliance and the Sanchong Palace want to control the Sanchong Palace and make everyone follow their rules. Then I will destroy this rule. No one in the cultivation world is qualified to monopolize a place. Everyone should have their own freedom." Mu Yu's words were sonorous and powerful. The moment he revealed his face, some sharp-eyed cultivators had already recognized him. The appearance of the true God's disciple had long been widely spread in the cultivation world. Mu Yu's reputation was even more well-known. It's actually Mu Yu, the true God's disciple? It's really him. I should have known. Who else would dare to go against the Five Mountains Alliance and the Sanchong Palace except for Mu Yu? Everyone was discussing intensely. Many people even looked at Mu Yu in awe. The Five Mountains Alliance had killed all the cultivators who did not agree with their rules for their own selfish reasons. They had already incurred the wrath of the heavens and the resentment of the people. If anyone said anything disrespectful, they would be killed. Those senior sect masters with status were even killed and displayed at the city gate. The Five Mountains Alliance and the Sanchong Palace had already lost the hearts of the people. However, because the Five Mountains Alliance and the Sanchong Palace were extremely powerful, many people did not dare to speak out. Now that Mu Yu had appeared and killed 2 elders of the Five Mountains Alliance who were in the crossing calamity stage, everyone was satisfied and saw hope. Perhaps the true God's disciple could once again create a miracle and lead everyone to overthrow the evil rule of the Five Mountains Alliance and the Sanchong Palace. Indeed, the true God is our hope. Yes, we were deceived by the Sanchong Palace and the 8 gates in the past and doubted the true God. Now that I think about it, I really regret it. Now, we only hope that the true God's disciple can destroy the Sanchong Palace and the Five Mountains Alliance and return the cultivation world to its former glory. Many people looked at Mu Yu with hope. The name Mu Yu had always been a legendary name in the cultivation world. Many cultivators took delight in talking about him. Even when they were trying to kill Mu Yu's reputation was still not to be underestimated. Now that Mu Yu had appeared in this city, it undoubtedly brought hope to everyone. With a true God's disciple here, we don't have to worry about anything. Let's kill Tai Shasheng and the wolf-slaying Taoist. Yes, kill them. Many of the onlookers had seen their seniors and masters brutally killed and hung in the air, so they hated Tai Shasheng and the wolf-slaying Taoist to the core. Now that a true God's disciple was here, they immediately had the courage to take revenge. They all rushed up to kill Tai Shasheng and the wolf-slaying Taoist. Tai Shasheng and wolf-slaying Taoist had lost all their cultivation. Facing so many self-cultivators who were filled with hatred, they had no way to protect themselves. They were torn into pieces by those self-cultivators who were filled with anger. In the blink of an eye, not even a trace of them was left. Mu Ling had already appeared below them and devoured their souls, not giving them any chance of resurrection. Many people in the Five Mountains Alliance were scared out of their wits. Even Tai Shasheng and the wolf-slaying Taoist, who were in the crossing calamity stage, had been killed. What could the remaining people do? Immediately, many people could not wait to escape from the city. However, how could they escape? None of the people of the Five Mountains Alliance can escape. Muyu shouted coldly. Those who tried to escape were killed on the spot, and their souls were wiped out. Kill the people of the Five Mountains Alliance. Master Lu had just recovered some of his vitality. He was already shouting excitedly in the air, commanding the self-cultivators to kill the people of the Five Mountains Alliance. These people of the Five Mountains Alliance were the disciples of the original five sections. They had formed the Five Mountains Alliance. Their clothes had the symbol of the five sects, which was very easy to recognize. Kill the people of the Five Mountains Alliance. Kill the people of the Five Mountains Alliance. The entire city was in an uproar. Recently, the Five Mountains Alliance had used cruel means to kill many famous self-cultivators, which aroused the anger of the people. All the self-cultivators shared the same hatred and helped Muyu to find all the people of the Five Mountains Alliance. The disciples of the Five Mountains Alliance were like a group of dragons without a leader. Those with high cultivation were killed by Muyu, while those with low cultivation were killed by other self-cultivators. In less than 2 hours, there were no survivors of the Five Mountains Alliance left in the entire city. Muyu, haha, we survived a disaster. Not only did we survive, but we also seized a city, Master Lu said happily. Muyu shook his head helplessly. Master Lu, your injuries have not healed yet. Be careful. It's okay. Killing the people of the Five Mountains Alliance is the most exciting thing. My injuries don't matter. Master Lu said proudly. Yes, the killing methods of the Five Mountains Alliance are too cruel. The rules they set are also very strict. Many cultivation resources have been plundered. The self-cultivators are suffering unspeakably. Everyone has long wanted to resist, but they lack a backbone like Muyu. Situ Yantian also revealed a smile. Muyu's identity and talent were well known in the entire self-cultivator world. He had always been a widely discussed genius in the self-cultivator world. His 3 senior brothers' reputation was not as good as Muyu's. Many years ago, the true God protected the self-cultivator world. The threefold palace and the 8 gates jointly slandered the true God. However, the true God's reputation was still not to be underestimated. Now that the conspiracy of the threefold palace and the 8 gates was exposed, and the true God was no longer around, the disciples of the true God naturally had incomparably strong prestige. Muyu said, "Now is not the time to completely start the war. Before I reach the great vehicle stage, I have no chance of winning against the threefold palace. We can only destroy some of the remaining members of the Five Mountains Alliance. Our real opponent is the threefold palace." Master Lu and Sitian Tian also understood this point. Master Lu looked at the incomplete corpses in the air and sighed. It's a pity for these people. After learning about the conspiracy of the Five Mountains Alliance, these people were loyal people who refused to surrender. I didn't expect them to end up like this. Alas, if they can survive, they will definitely be a huge force for us in the future. Muyu's mind moved. He had 7 or 8 soul stones in his hand, which were obtained from the people of the Five Mountains Alliance. The souls of these people were trapped in the soul stones. It was another method used by the threefold palace to collect souls. Muyu counted the corpses in the air. There were a total of 40 self-cultivators. Wolf Slayer Taoist said that he had killed hundreds of people, but there were not many people whose corpses were worthy of being shown to the public. Most of the corpses shown to the public here were the elders and heads of famous sections. They were all big shots in the self-cultivator world. Those nameless pawns did not have a deterrent effect, so the corpses were generally disposed of. He came to the front of Nanwei Taoist. This person had just died not long ago, and he did not have time to save him. At this time, Nanwei Taoist's resolute face was full of pain. His eyes were wide open, which made people feel pity. Life and death in the blink of an eye. Can you save him? Muyu asked in his heart. Gomong said, with your current cultivation, using my domain power will consume a lot of energy. I'm afraid you won't be able to hold on for 10 minutes. It's a thankless task. When Muyu was in trouble with Tian Ran, the 9 Heavens Demon ceiling formation was broken. Gomong also escaped at that time. During this period of time, Muyu had encountered many dangers, but Gomong never let Muyu use the life and death in the blink of an eye ability. The main reason was that the life and death in the blink of an eye ability placed a huge burden on Muyu. Without Gomong's consent, Muyu could not use his full strength. The life and death in the blink of an eye domain power was based on the eyes. The left eye's light could revive a dead person, and the right eye's light could kill a person. With Muyu's current cultivation, others could dodge his death gaze. It was very difficult to hit them, whether it was when destroying the gate of hell or when facing the palace envoys. The right eye's death gaze could not hit them. However, the left eye's resurrection ability did not have so many restrictions. Just tell me how many people I can resurrect. Muyu said if he wanted to use this ability, he needed to get Gomong's consent. Because Muyu did not choose to erase Gomong's consciousness, Gomong would not refuse Muyu in principle. It depends on the situation. You are not familiar with my domain power at all, but it is more than enough to resurrect these people. After resurrecting them, you will probably have a weak period of an hour. Gomong said reluctantly. The domain power that could resurrect people could be called heaven-defying, but the shortcomings were also obvious. Muyu's cultivation base had not reached the Deshang stage, so using the domain power consumed a lot of spiritual power. Muyu was no stranger to this, because he had used the Demon King's domain power several times. However, the spiritual power consumed by the life and death in the blink of an eye was obviously more than the domain power of several Demon Kings. I will be in a weak state for an hour. Then I will rest for an hour. Muyu said. Lu Xianshi and Situ Yangtian had almost recovered. Their body integration stage cultivation bases were enough to protect him, so 2 hours was not a big deal. Right now, Muyu needed to find a safe place to resurrect these people. As Master Lu said, these people who were killed were loyal and righteous people. They were also the heads and elders of many sects, and they were quite prestigious, since they dared to speak against the Five Mountains Alliance without fear of life and death in this situation. Then if he subdued them, he would not be alone when facing the third heavenly layer in the future. Master Lu, let's go. We need to save these people. Muyu patted Master Lu on the shoulder. Master Lu was stunned. Save these people? He looked at the corpses around him in confusion. Apart from the heads that were intact, the rest of the corpses had been dismembered and skinned by Tai Shashing using various cruel methods. Not a single part of the body was intact, just like the Southern Wei Daoist who was killed before Master Lu and Situ Yangtian. His entire body was skinned, and even his heart was eaten by Tai Shashing. Master Lu wondered, can they really be saved? Muyu, don't make fun of an old man like me. Although I also want to save them, this matter is really sensational. I have never heard of the ability to save people who have been killed, let alone these people whose heads have been separated and their bodies are covered in wounds. They had died like this. Was there any possibility of survival? Chapter 1077. The members of the Five Mountain Alliance in Eternal City were all slaughtered, and everyone felt relieved. However, Muyu would not stay in this city for too long. His appearance was enough to let the cultivators see hope. At the very least, they understood that when the Five Mountain Alliance and the Threefold Palace were going to rule in the dark, Muyu, the disciple of a true god, was still resisting. That was enough. Muyu appeared in front of the old man, who was selling hawthorns. She handed a few hundred silver taels to the old man and said, "This is the money I asked for. You should quickly find a safe place to hide. This money is enough for you to spend for a long time." The old man looked at Muyu in excitement. He knew about the commotion at the city gate just now. He did not expect that the young man in front of him was a true god's disciple. Sir, the old man was so excited that he could not speak. However, Muyu had already left with little Shuai in the blink of an eye. Master Lu and Situ Yangtian disappeared with him, as well as the 46 incomplete corpses that were hung at the city gate. They appeared in a hidden mountain forest. Master Lu told Muyu the information he had gathered with a serious expression. "You're saying that the people of the Threefold Palace found the place where Demon King Heavenly Qian was sealed? Are you sure?" Muyu asked in surprise. Demon King Heavenly Qian was one of the 9 immortals of the threefold heaven. Like Demon King Desert Eagle, he had not completely broken free from the seal. Demon King Azure Dragon had once said that they would find Demon King Heavenly Qian. Muyu originally thought that Demon King Heavenly Qian had broken free from the seal long ago. It turned out that he had not. Yes, this matter is absolutely true. We were accidentally captured by wolf-slaying Taoist because we wanted to confirm the truth of this matter, said Situ Yangtian. Tell me the details of what happened, Muyu said to Master Lu and Situ Yangtian as he placed the 46 corpses on the ground. Master Lu said, "We were instructed by Mr. Oldbu to come here and investigate the situation of the Five Mountains Alliance. Originally, when we left the Array sect to investigate, we were always very careful. With our array formation skills, we rarely gave ourselves away. However, yesterday morning, we inadvertently learned from a body integration stage elder of the Five Mountains Alliance that the people from the Triple Palace are in this city. According to Master Lu, the people from the Threefold Palace had come here yesterday for the Heavenly Qian Demon King seal. However, the combination stage elder did not have the right to know the exact location. He was only responsible for receiving the emissary from the Threefold Palace. Tai Shashing and the wolf-slaying Taoist were in charge of the rest. Because you mentioned Taoist Heavenly Qian to us last time, we knew that this matter was very important to you. So we thought of a way to infiltrate the extreme immortal pavilion and eavesdropped on the conversation between the people of the Third Palace and the wolf-slaying Taoist, Tai Shashing. Unfortunately, the Threefold Palace placed great importance on this matter, so they did not reveal the exact location of Demon King Heavenly Celestial. They only asked Taoist Wolf slaying about the terrain around the Mystic Spirit sect, continued Master Lu. The terrain around the Mystic Spirit sect? Could it be that the place where Demon King Heavenly Celestial is sealed is near the Mystic Spirit sect? Asked Muyu in a deep voice. Master Lu nodded. We thought so too at the beginning. However, what I don't understand is that if the place where Demon King Heavenly Celestial is sealed is near the Mystic Spirit sect, the people from the Threefold Palace should have gone to the Mystic Spirit sect to ask. Why did they specifically ask Taoist, wolf-slaying Taoist? Master Lu's suspicion was not without reason. The Mystic Spirit sect also had many tribulation stage experts. Taoist wolf-slaying Taoist cultivation was not considered powerful among the tribulation stage experts. If it involved the terrain around the Mystic Spirit sect, they should have asked a more experienced expert. Taoist wolf-slaying Taoist also suggested that we should ask the sect master of the Mystic Spirit sect. However, the person from the Threefold Palace only said that he would consider it before leaving, said Master Lu. Consider it? That's such a sloppy answer. Muyu was still wondering if he had let Taoist wolf-slaying Taoist die too early. However, judging from Taoist wolf-slaying Taoist's answer, he probably did not know either. And then, where did that person from the Threefold Palace go? Little Shuai asked curiously. Master Lu said awkwardly, "Then we were discovered." After that person from the Threefold Palace left, Tai Shashing suddenly discovered us. We were careless. Muyu said, "Master Lu, Master Situ, when the two of you do things in the future, don't be so reckless. Don't try to take risks. A tribulation stage expert is enough to discover you. Do you understand?" Situ Yangtian shook his head and said, "The moment Master Lu heard about the news of Demon King Heavenly Qian, he had to think of a way to sneak in and inquire about it. It's because that's something you mentioned before. Master Lu thinks that this matter is very important to you. He didn't even care about his own life. He's really reckless. If it's important to Muyu, he has to find out even if he has to pay with his life. Don't you know what 9 people of eternal life mean? Besides, I already told you to leave quickly. You insisted on staying and being arrested together," retorted Master Lu. Situ Yangtian said sarcastically, "That's right. I should have let you be killed in front of everyone. I should have let you have your tendons pulled out and your bones skinned. I should have chopped off your head and used it as a stool to sit on. You'll remember this in the Yellow Springs. You've always been one-track minded. Back then, the Array sect was almost destroyed in your hands. Have you forgotten? Master Lu said angrily, Situ Yangtian. Do you feel uncomfortable if you don't quarrel with me? Why do you have to bring up those old matters? Do you want to fight? Fighting at this time? Can't you be more mature? You're already so old, yet you're still acting like a rash person, said Situ Yangtian impatiently. Bastard, who are you calling a rash person? Master Lu rolled up his sleeves angrily. Master Lu and Situ Yangtian had quarreled their entire lives. They were originally fellow disciples of the array sect. They competed and blamed each other. Although Master Lu's array skills were superb, he had always been an upright person. If there was anything he wanted to say, he would say it directly and not beat around the bush. As for Situ Yangtian, he was more meticulous. Last time, he was the one who discovered Master Lu's abnormality and endured the pain of killing him to stop the Talisman Sect's plan. But no matter what, the two of them were loyal to the Array sect. Muyu also had a headache when he saw them quarrel. Master Lu had a straightforward personality and was straightforward. He also quarreled nonstop with the Pill Cauldron sect's master alchemist. This restless old man was not afraid of anything and would quarrel with anyone he disliked. But even if the two of them quarreled, Master Lu had inadvertently become a traitor of the Array faction. When he was about to be punished according to the sect rules, it was Situ Yangtian who helped plead for leniency. Situ Yangtian couldn't abandon Master Lu and run away. Muyu said seriously, Master Lu, nothing is more important than your life. The Array sect doesn't have enough talent to begin with. If something happens to you, it will be a huge loss. How will the Array sect rise to become the Array Talisman sect in the future? Master Lu said indignantly, but news of Demon King Heavenly Qian is definitely more important than my life. Demon King Heavenly Qian won't die, but you will. If Demon King Heavenly Qian really fell into the hands of your third heaven cultivator, you won't be able to stop them even if you give up your life. It's a good thing that nothing happened to you this time. If you died somewhere and your corpse couldn't be found, I wouldn't even be able to blink if I wanted to. Muyu said helplessly. What blink? Master Lu asked in confusion. Little Shuai laughed loudly. Just blink like this. As he spoke, he even blinked his cute big eyes and demonstrated to Master Lu. Muyu could not help but laugh. It's the blink of an eye between life and death, not the blink of an eye. My domain ability. I just said that I can resurrect with this ability. Master Lu said in surprise. Domain ability? Muyu, you have already stepped into the Great Ascension stage? I wanna. It's not that easy. That's Gomong's ability, remember? The Spirit Lord Yu Meng in my body. Muyu explained. Master Lu came to a realization. He knew that Spirit Lord Yu Meng was sealed in Muyu's body, but he did not know about Muyu's ability. In fact, the 5 Spirit Lord Yu Meng's domain ability was very powerful, but there were very few people in the cultivation world who knew about the 5 Spirit Lord Yu Meng's abilities. Not to mention Master Lu, even Muyu did not know what the other 4 Spirit Lord Yu Meng's domain ability was. But can that ability really resurrect people? Lu Xianshi asked doubtfully. The ability to resurrect people was truly terrifying. A person with such an ability would definitely have countless people fawning over them in the cultivation world. It was a pity that Muyu could not freely use this ability in the past. Just watch and you'll know. Muyu stood up and gathered the 46 corpses together. He took a deep breath. Gomong had already used the domain ability on him. His eyes suddenly lit up with a breathtaking light. Suddenly, the entire forest was filled with a powerful oppression, causing Master Lu and Situ Yangtian's expressions to change. This was the cultivation base of the Great Ascension stage. Both of them looked at Muyu in horror. At this time, Muyu's left eye was filled with vitality, and his right eye was filled with a lifeless black light. His 2 eyes were at 2 extremes. When he looked into Muyu's eyes, he actually had a feeling that his life and death was not in his control. Today, Muyu's ability to use life and death in the blink of an eye was much stronger than before. He had only used it twice in total. The first time was when he lost control in the Moyun mountain range, and the second time was when he saved Tianran. During those 2 times, Gomong had taken the initiative, and Muyu's cultivation base was not as high as it was now. But this time it was different. When he used the domain ability, there was a qualitative leap. The white light in his left eye suddenly shot out, forming an endless beam of light that fell on the body of the Taoist Nan Wei in front of him. After Taoist Nan Wei's incomplete corpse was illuminated by the white light that contained endless vitality, it suddenly began to mutate. Under the illumination of the white light, the severed limbs on his body slowly combined together, and the torn wounds also began to heal. Master Lu looked at the corpse of the Taoist Nan Wei in shock. The incomplete corpse of the Taoist Nan Wei was actually reassembled. Not only that, even the skin that had been peeled off grew back under the endless white light. What shocked him the most was that the heart that had been swallowed by Tai Shasheng actually began to grow back. Chapter 1078. Master Lu and Sita Yangtian were both shocked. A few breaths ago, Taoist Nan Wei's body was still in pieces, but now, except for the painful expression on his face, his body had recovered to its original state, as if the gods were helping him. What kind of ability was this? It was so powerful. Master Lu and Sita Yangtian looked at each other. As array masters, they had seen many things in the cultivation world, but they had never seen such a heaven-defying scene. It was really unbelievable. But what shocked them was that the soul stone in Mu Yu's hand suddenly shot out an illusory white shadow and directly entered Taoist Nan Wei's body. Taoist Nan Wei suddenly took a deep breath. His widened eyes began to return to normal, and his heart began to beat again. He immediately sat up and looked around in bewilderment. Then he saw Master Lu and Situ Yangtian, who had strange expressions on their faces. "What's wrong with me? Is this the underworld?" Taoist Nan Wei asked. Master Lu and Situ Yangtian's mouths were wide open. They never thought that Taoist Nan Wei would come back to life and speak after being killed to such an extent. However, Taoist Nan Wei's gaze was quickly attracted by Mu Yu. He saw the miserable, dismembered corpses around him and couldn't help but frown. Then he found that the endless white light in Mu Yu's left eye had moved away from him and shone on the others. 1, 2, 3. In just a quarter of an hour, the dead bodies gradually recovered their vitality. Their broken limbs grew back, and their souls returned to their bodies. Yonglin Temple's severed soul stage master Liao Jianshu, Guan Xian Sect's body integration stage master Guan Xian Sect, Tianhe Taoist, Tianhe River Valley's body integration stage master. These famous figures in the cultivation world were now resurrected one by one. Their faces were as shocked as Taoist Nan Wei's. When they saw Mu Yu use a special ability to resurrect them, everyone's faces were full of disbelief. Resurrecting people is really difficult. Mu Yu finally resurrected the 46th person. Only then did he slowly withdraw his domain ability. The spiritual energy in his body had been exhausted. He immediately sat down cross-legged and quickly began to recover the lost spiritual energy. What the hell is going on? Everyone looked at Mu Yu in horror, waiting for Mu Yu to give an explanation. However, when Master Lu and Sita Yangtian saw Mu Yu sitting cross-legged to rest, they immediately stood beside Mu Yu, not allowing anyone to get close. After Taoist Nan Wei confirmed that he had really revived, and since he was the first to revive, he told everyone what he had seen. "We were resurrected by him. He actually has the ability to revive others." Even though these 46 people were well known in the cultivation world and had seen many things, they were still shocked when they personally experienced this. After being captured by Tai Shasheng, they had been tortured and killed. They had thought that they were completely dead. They did not expect to see the light of day again. How could they not be shocked? He is the disciple of the true God, Mu Yu. "He saved you," Master Lu said in a deep voice. "That's right, it's Mu Yu. I was lucky enough to see him once." Mu Yu actually has the ability to resurrect people, the disciple of the true God. Did he obtain all the inheritance of the true God? Almost everyone present had heard the name Mu Yu. Many people had also seen Mu Yu's portrait. Now that Mu Yu did not use the 100 Faces illusion array, many people immediately recognized him. Everyone was excited. Everyone here was not afraid of death. They did not want to live under the dark rule of the Five Mountains Alliance and the Sanchon Palace. They had chosen to resist secretly, but had been captured. They were different from other cultivators. They hoped that the cultivation world could have a bright future instead of being oppressed by the Sanchon Palace and the Five Mountains Alliance. They were regarded as thorns by the Five Mountains Alliance because they were unwilling to submit. They also hoped that someone could lead them to fight against the Sanchon Palace. Muyu had this ability, so he was undoubtedly the best candidate. The disciple of the true God may really be able to restore order in the cultivation world. This was the thought in everyone's mind. Muyu slowly recovered his spiritual power. After running the dust-fall cultivation method, he had recovered a lot. When he opened his eyes, he found that the 46 people in the forest were standing in front of him with solemn faces and looking at him. He's awake. Everyone's eyes lit up. Then, the 46 people uniformly knelt down in front of Muyu and said, "Thank you, Lord Muyu, for saving our lives." Muyu did not expect these people to have such a reaction. He looked at Master Lu in confusion. Master Lu came over and whispered, "I have just explained the situation to them. They already know that you resurrected them. Now, they are full of admiration for you. Get up. You're welcome," Muyu said quickly. He disliked all kinds of secular etiquette. The people here were all famous people of the older generation. They were as sensible as the old city Lord He Jinglong. They were unwilling to do anything improper. Muyu admired these people the most. "Thank you, Lord." The 46 people immediately stood up and looked at the Taoist Nan Wei, who had the highest cultivation, as if they had already agreed on something. The Taoist Nan Wei took a step forward and bowed. "Lord Muyu, your cultivation is monstrous and famous. Now that the cultivation world is ruled by the Five Mountains Alliance and the Sanchon Palace, the world is full of complaints. We boldly ask you to lead us to form a force that can fight against the Five Mountains Alliance and return the cultivation world to its former glory." Form a force? Muyu was surprised. He did not expect these people to have such an idea after being resurrected by him. Little Shuai said excitedly, "Yes, I was the one who suggested this. We could form a group to fight the Sanchon Palace." Muyu looked at little Shuai, who wanted to see the world in chaos, with a headache. "Yes, Lord Muyu, the Sanchon Palace has deceived us for so long and treated our lives like grass. They even killed all those who did not submit to them. Their methods were cruel. This kind of Sanchon Palace does not conform to the will of the people. Lord Muyu, you are the disciple of a true God and have fought against the people of the Sanchon Palace. None of us are willing to be enslaved by the Sanchon Palace. As long as you say the word, we will definitely follow Lord Muyu and fight against the Sanchon Palace." Sky River Taoist from Sky River Valley stood up and said sincerely, "The matter of establishing a force." Muyu fell in a deep thought. Now, the cultivation world could only rely on the people from the Array faction and the Pill Cauldron sect. However, the people from these two sects were far from enough. There was still a small number of people in the cultivation world who were not afraid of death. If these people could unite, they would be a huge force to fight against the Sanchon Palace. Lord Muyu, please lead us to overthrow the Five Mountains Alliance and the Sanchon Palace. Lord Muyu, please lead us to overthrow the Five Mountains Alliance and the Sanchon Palace. Lord Muyu, please lead us to overthrow the Five Mountains Alliance and the Sanchon Palace. The 46 people thought that Muyu did not agree, so they knelt down again and said sincerely. They all hoped that the cultivation world could return to its former harmony and not that all the cultivation resources were controlled by the Five Mountains Alliance. Other cultivators could only be oppressed everywhere. Muyu waved his hand, and a majestic spiritual energy poured out and helped everyone up. He turned to ask Master Lu and Situ Yangtian, "What do you two think?" "Muyu, they're all waiting for a capable person to appear. You're already the supreme sect master of our formation Glyph Gate. It's not a big deal to be the leader of an alliance against the Threefold Palace. I think this is a good idea," Lu Xianshi said with a smile. Situ Yangtian also said with certainty, "These people have a certain amount of appeal in the cultivation world. With their help, it will be more convenient for us to do things. We won't have to fight alone." There are still some people with lofty ideals in the cultivation world. Since we want to fight against the Sanchong Palace, we will be on the same side as them. That's right. I think the sect master will also let you accept this matter. Now that you are our hope, don't disappoint these people. If you don't know how to lead them, you can let Mr. Olbu take command. I'm very much in favor of that. You don't have to do everything personally. You are a believer. The most important thing is that everyone knows what they are doing. Master Lu was very enthusiastic about this matter. Xiao Shuai interrupted again. You are the leader of the Alliance's strength, and I am the leader of the Alliance's appearance. Our combination is invincible. Muyu smiled helplessly and then nodded. He said to the others, "Overthrowing the Five Mountains Alliance and the Sanchong Palace is indeed what I want to do next. You are all people with pride and want to live a clear life. I admire this. You are all seniors who are older than me. If we want to form a force to fight against the Five Mountains Alliance and the Sanchong Palace, I will not be alone. We will need everyone to work together." "Then Lord Muyu, you mean?" Daoist Nin Wei asked eagerly. "I can lead everyone to fight against the Sanchong Palace." Muyu nodded. Everyone was overjoyed. Daoist Nan Wei continued to ask, "Then Lord Muyu, since the people from the five sects have formed the Five Mountains Alliance, we will naturally need a name to fight against them. Lord Muyu, what name do you think we should give?" "Name? I haven't really thought about this." Muyu had been running around the cultivation world. He and Xiao Shuai were more like vagrants. They had never thought of forming a force or a name. "Let's call it Xiao Shuai Alliance." "Oh no, let's call it the Shuai Alliance." "Domineering," Xiao Shuai suggested while eating hawthorn. Muyu looked at Xiao Shuai with a headache. "Are you serious?" "Anyway, I think it's pretty good." Xiao Shuai spat out a hawthorn seed, as if nothing had happened. He was usually the most straightforward when it came to naming things. Something like Legend of the Brave and Invincible Little Shuai Formation, which was simple, narcissistic, and crude. Muyu shook his head and said, "I destroyed the Sanchong Palace mainly to find my master. Therefore, I think it's better to name this force Sword Shadow. With the reputation of Sword Shadow Chun Feng, it will have more appeal." "Sword Shadow? Good." Master Lu agreed. Siti Yang Tian also nodded in agreement. Muyu said loudly, "We want to restore the cultivation world that true God Sword Shadow Chun Feng once protected. The Sanchong Palace framed my master, so we will use the name Sword Shadow to declare war on the Sanchong Palace." Sword Shadow. Chapter 1079. The two words Sword Shadow were extremely appealing. Everyone present believed in the true God, so when Sword Shadow came out, everyone was excited. It was as if they had built a relationship with the true God, and their sense of honor was bursting. "Sword Shadow! Sword Shadow!" Everyone began to shout, their voices powerful and resonant. Muyu nodded slightly and motioned for everyone to quiet down. Then he said, "All of you go back and find a way to gather those who don't want to be ruled by the threefold palace. Use your reputation to secretly form a force. Don't make it public. You're already dead. If you're discovered by the threefold palace, I'm afraid you will be hurt again, so you must be careful." "Yes, leader." These 46 people were all famous leaders and elders in the cultivation world. Their rallying power could not be underestimated. With their ability, they could gather a group of like-minded self-cultivators. And these self-cultivators who were unwilling to submit to the threefold palace were the ones Muyu wanted to protect. Next, Muyu discussed the detailed contact method with them again and personally made 46 tokens with formations engraved on them. When the time was right, they would use the formations on the tokens to send orders to the formation school and wait for orders. Muyu's reputation was extremely high, and everyone was willing to listen to his orders. They were also convinced by Muyu's powerful resurrection ability. For the same goal, everyone was in high spirits. Master Lu and Situ Yang Tian communicated with everyone, and everyone officially got to know the two innate formation masters. Muyu put them in charge of the 46 people. After returning to the formation school, Everything would be handed over to village chief Old Bu and Zhuge Xiaosheng to make a unified decision. This was something that couldn't be helped. Muyu had a lot of things to do now, so he couldn't handle some things in person. However, village chief Old Bu and Zhuge Xiaosheng were in charge, so Muyu was very relieved. After sending off the 46 people, Master Lu's face was full of smiles as he said, "Muyu, you're really amazing. You directly won over these 46 people. You have to know that the rallying power of these 46 people can't be underestimated. They are now counting on you to lead us out of the sea of suffering." Situ Yantian also nodded and said, "Whether it's your appeal or the appeal of a true god, it's like a ray of light in the darkness for those people. I think Mr. Oldbu and the sect leader will know how to rely on these people to develop Shadow Sword to the point that the Threefold Palace is afraid of." Muyu said, "I'll have to trouble you two in the future. You two are their contacts. Keep in touch with them at all times. If they encounter any obstacles, find a way to solve them." "Yes, this subordinate is willing to die 10,000 deaths," Situ Yantian said solemnly. Master Lu, on the other hand, was fearless. He smiled and said, "Muyu, you have the ability to resurrect us. In the future, the two of us don't have to worry about anything. It doesn't matter if we are caught and cut into pieces. We just have to grit our teeth and bear with it. At worst, you can blink your eyes again and turn back." Muyu felt helpless about Master Lu's blind optimism. He shook his head and said, "Master Lu, my life and death can happen in the blink of an eye. Everyone only has one chance, and there are many restrictions. You have to remember this." Master Lu asked in confusion, "What do you mean?" Little Shuai interrupted, "It means that you only have 2 lives. Once you use them up, you will be truly dead." Master Lu said happily, "If I have 2 lives, I'm willing to sell one if necessary. Many people don't have this opportunity yet." Muyu said seriously, "Master Lu, you have to cherish your life. The reason why these people could be resurrected is because their souls still exist. Once the Threefold Palace detects my ability, they will definitely take away the soul after killing someone. If your soul is obtained by the people of the Threefold Palace after your death, I won't be able to resurrect you. Do you understand?" Master Lu's smile suddenly froze. He smiled embarrassedly and said, "I thought your resurrection domain was omnipotent." Muyu stood up and said majestically, "Master Lu, as the sect master, I order you to follow Situ Yangtian's advice when you go out to do things in the future. You're not allowed to take dangerous actions without permission. You have to put your own life first at all times. Do you understand?" Master Lu was immediately unhappy. How could he agree to listen to Situ Yangtian's words? He immediately said, "Muyu," but Situ Yangtian shouted from the side, "How dare you contradict the sect master?" Master Lu realized that he had been reckless. His face turned red, and he quickly said respectfully, "I will obey the sect master's orders. Remember, you have to put your life first at all times. I can't just happen to save you so many times. If you die, there will be nothing left. It will also seriously damage the strength of our formation sect and destabilize the morale of our troops. Only by living well can you make up for the mistakes you made in the formation sect. What I want is a living person who can work for me, not a reckless dead man." Muyu said seriously. Master Lu lowered his head and was so ashamed that even his ears turned red. He quickly said, "Yes, sect master." Muyu nodded slightly and helped Master Lu up. He had no choice but to do so. Master Lu had been feeling guilty since he had almost caused the destruction of the formation sect. Although no one blamed him, he had always felt guilty, so he always wanted to do something to make up for his mistakes. At that time, Muyu was almost implicated by Master Lu. However, Muyu chose to forgive him and let him avoid being punished according to the rules of the formation sect. He also used pills to help him reach the stage of the combination realm. Master Lu felt guilty, so he was willing to do anything for Muyu, even if he had to pay with his life. Muyu had been learning formations from Master Lu. Even if he became the sect master, he still treated Master Lu as an elder. Naturally, He didn't want Master Lu to lose his life in order to make up for his crimes. Usually, he just treated the title of sect master as a decoration and didn't like others to use their identity to suppress others. However, in the case of Master Lu, he still had to show the dignity of sect master. Master Lu stood up and asked submissively with a solemn face, "Sect master, do you have any other orders?" Lu Dei will do his best to complete them for you. Muyu patted his forehead and said, "Master Lu, that's enough. We're all on the same side. Do things according to the rules. Usually just call me Muyu. I'm not used to being called sect master." Master Lu laughed. He knew Muyu's character. As the sect master of the formation sect, he would treat himself as a junior in front of the seniors of the formation sect. He would humbly ask for advice without any airs. This was also the reason why Master Lu was willing to do anything for Muyu. A sect master with great talent, but was easygoing, polite, and a little childish had obtained Master Lu's approval. With such a sect master, Master Lu was willing to support him as an elder and help Muyu establish his own faction. This was because Muyu's growth to Master Lu, who had once guided Muyu in formations, was like a junior he had taught who had made a name for himself. As an elder, he also felt a sense of accomplishment. "Muyu, then should we go to the Xianling sect next and inquire about the whereabouts of the heavenly Qian Demon King?" Master Lu asked. Muyu thought for a moment and said, "No need. The two of you go back first and tell Grandpa Village Chief and Sect Master about Sword Shadow. Let them discuss further on how to proceed. I'll go to the vicinity of the Xianling sect alone." "But you're alone." Master Lu hesitated. "Am I not a person?" Little Shuai kicked Master Lu. Master Lu quickly touched Little Shuai's head and smiled apologetically. "I'm sorry, little guy. It was a slip of the tongue." Situ Yantian glared at Master Lu. "Muyu's cultivation base is basically unmatched under the Deshang stage. We haven't even reached the tribulation stage. What do we do there? If something happens, we'll become a burden. We just have to do our own things." Muyu said, "It's more convenient for me and Little Shuai to act together. Now that Sword Shadow has just been confirmed, the two of you go back and tell Grandpa Village Chief and Sect Master the news. Then, follow their instructions and gradually develop Sword Shadow." The conspiracy of the Sanchong Palace has been exposed. The people of the cultivation world also know the truth of the matter. At this time, those who dare to stand up are those we will save. As for those who don't dare to stand up, there's nothing we can do. "Okay." Master Lu and Situ Yantian nodded. When they left, they had already begun to quarrel again. Situ Yantian said somewhat proudly, "Remember Muyu's words. In the future, you have to listen to me when you do things. Don't court death again." "Bastard, Muyu only said to listen to you when it's important. Don't expect me to listen to you when it comes to other things." Master Lu's voice was very annoyed. It was obviously not easy for him to listen to Situ Yangtian's words. Muyu didn't care about the two of them. He left the woods with Little Shuai and headed in the direction of the Xianling sect. The Xianling sect wasn't too far away from the Danding sect. Muyu had never been to the Xianling sect before. But now that he was going to deal with the Sanchong Palace, Muyu knew a lot about the Xianling sect. Naturally, he knew where the Xianling sect was. The Xianling sect was a normal sect. There were many masters at the crossing calamity stage, but they were not outstanding. The highest cultivation was the sect master of the Xianling sect, Master Ling Yi, who was at the fifth heaven of the crossing calamity stage. He had a high prestige in the cultivation world, but he hadn't walked around in the cultivation world for many years. Muyu didn't have much interaction with the people of the Xianling sect. He only met a cultivator at the combination stage of the Xianling sect once in Dongsha City. The Xianling sect was in a mountain range surrounded by rolling mountains. It was surrounded by a large formation. It was very difficult for ordinary people to sneak in. According to Zhuge Xiaoxing's information, the Xianling sect's mountain guarding formation used to be maintained by their formation sect. But now, the mountain guarding formation had been changed and was personally designed by the people of the Sanchong Palace. Therefore, it was now impossible to enter the Xianling sect quietly. Muyu had already landed about 100 miles away from the Xianling sect. As soon as he entered this area, he felt that something was wrong. Chapter 1080. Can you feel it? Muyu asked softly. Xiao Shuai nodded. There's some abnormality in the spiritual energy here. It's as if the spiritual energy was suddenly gathered by something and became very rich. Muyu also felt that something was wrong. Normally, it was impossible for the Xianling sect to have such rich spiritual energy. This was recorded in the information collected by the Array faction. Could it be that there's a spiritual Qi here? Muyu pondered. There were many spiritual Qi in the third heaven. The spiritual Qi was a place that could produce spiritual energy. When they were in the second heaven, Muyu and Xiao Shuai relied on the spiritual Qi in the Luo Chun Mountain to return. Later, a spiritual Qi appeared in the 8 Grass Village, which attracted the covetous eyes of the demon race. Spiritual Qi were very useful for cultivation. There's a spiritual Qi. That's great. Let's take it. Xiao Shuai said excitedly. When he was still an egg, he took over a spiritual Qi and used his naked body to block the spiritual Qi every day. Muyu didn't come for the spiritual Qi. Instead, he was thinking about what he could do with the spiritual Qi. He remembered that when they were in the second heaven, Phantom Qingyu used the spiritual Qi to trap the White Ape Demon King. It seemed that the heavenly Qian Demon King seal was really here. However, after thinking about it, it didn't seem right. At that time, the spiritual Qi in the second heaven was extracting spiritual energy. However, the spiritual Qi here was obviously erupting spiritual energy. It was impossible for the seal to erupt a spiritual Qi. What happened in the Xianling sect? Did this spiritual Qi just appear? Muyu brought Xiao Shuai and blended into the trees, heading in the direction of the Xianling sect. Along the way, there were many disciples wearing the Xianling sect's clothes passing by. These people were in groups of 5 and had serious expressions, as if they were on guard against something. Naturally, they couldn't find Muyu's trace. When Muyu wanted to continue forward, a white soul power boundary blocked him. It seems that something did happen in the Xianling sect. Muyu didn't try to break through the soul power barrier. There was a threefold palace's barrier here, and it was heavily guarded. If he accidentally triggered it, it would alert the people in the threefold palace. Before the situation was clear, it was best not to alert the enemy. Let's go capture a few people and interrogate them. Little Shuai had already taken down all the hawthorns and placed them in his heaven and earth sleeve. At this moment, he was eating them one by one. Muyu stopped in front of a locust tree. At this time, 3 male youths and 2 female disciples came over. They were discussing something. Senior brother, what's the matter that requires so many people? What does the Lord of the Threefold Palace want us to be on guard against? They won't even let us have a good rest. A slender woman looked a little dissatisfied. One of the youths, who looked to be around 26 or 27 years old, said, Junior Sister Yao, don't complain. Whatever orders the lords of the Threefold Palace have, we'll just follow them. How we know what happened here? Another youth with a sallow complexion said softly, I heard from Master last night that there was a special seal near our Xianling sect. It seems to be related to the heavenly Qian Demon King. I didn't expect the heavenly Qian Demon King seal to be here in our Xianling sect. Shoo, lower your voice. The lords of the Threefold Palace strictly forbade us to discuss the heavenly Qian Demon King secret. We just have to do our own things and not let anyone near Mount Jinan. Another red-clothed woman glared at the youth who spoke. After this group of people walked over, Muyu frowned slightly. Was the heavenly Qian Demon King's seal really here? He patrolled around and had a rough understanding of the terrain around the Xianling sect that was sealed, but he didn't know what was inside. After pondering for a moment, Muyu still decided to think of a way to enter the Xianling sect through this layer of soul spell barrier. The soul technique enchantment barrier extended deep into the ground, encircling an area with a radius of 500 miles. Even if Muyu could use the trees to penetrate deep into the ground, he would not be able to easily break through. He had to find another way. Just when Muyu was considering whether or not to use the black and white spirit energy to melt a hole in the soul force barrier, the entire Xianling sect's boundary suddenly exploded with an earth-shattering roar. The ground began to tremble violently, and even terrifying cracks began to appear. All the Xianling sect disciples were alarmed and leaped into the air in bewilderment. All of them looked at the soul spell barrier in horror. The soul spell barrier that was suffused with a sacred white light was trembling unknowingly, as if it was heavily damaged. In the middle of the soul spell barrier, there was a huge fist imprint. It was this fist imprint that caused a roar. The fist imprint was 100 meters long. It propped up the entire soul spell barrier and deformed the soul spell barrier. Clear cracks spread out from the center of the fist imprint. Bang! The second fist imprint came crashing down. This time, it came from the other side. When the fist imprint landed, it set off a roar. A terrifying aura spread out from the cracks, causing the Xianling sect disciples to tremble in fear. That was the aura of a great ascension stage expert. What's going on? Muyu hid among the Xianling sect disciples and stared at the two incomparably huge fist imprints. He didn't understand what was going on. The aura of a great ascension stage expert could only make Muyu associate it with someone from the third palace. However, it was reasonable to say that the people from the third palace could easily enter and exit this soul spell barrier. Why would they need to use such a destructive fist imprint? However, Muyu's expression quickly changed because at this time, there were actually 4 great ascension stage auras coming out from the cracks of the soul spell barrier. There were 4 great ascension stage experts in this soul spell barrier. At this time, if Muyu blindly went in, it would be very unwise. He couldn't risk his life. Boom! The soul spell barrier trembled again. A great ascension stage fist imprint shot out from the cracks and scattered into the sky. Suddenly, a cloud above the soul spell barrier was directly blown away. Not only that, when the fist imprint shot out, it actually tore 2 out-of-body stage Xianling sect disciples who were too close to it into pieces. Quickly retreat. An elder of the Xianling sect shouted, making the patrolling disciples move away from this area. They were also bewildered and didn't understand what was going on inside the soul spell barrier. But in any case, the people from the third palace were doing something inside. They absolutely couldn't disturb them. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 piercing sounds came from the sky. 2 crossing calamity stage experts appeared in the crowd. One of them was wearing a purple robe and a golden crown. He had an extraordinary temperament. He was the Xianling sect's sect master, Ling Yi. The other was a middle-aged man wearing a white robe. His cultivation was at the crossing calamity stage 3rd layer. He was the Xianling sect's elder, Daoist Qiuzhe. As soon as these 2 people appeared, all the Xianling sect disciples immediately bowed and saluted. Their expressions were extremely respectful. Xianling sect disciples, listen to my orders. Ling Yi shouted majestically, "Disciple is here." The patrolling disciples of the Xianling sect responded. Everyone, retreat 500 miles away. Be on full alert. Without my order, don't approach this place. Ling Yi waved his hand. Yes. All the Xianling sect disciples knew that the situation in front of them was far from what they could intervene. Not to mention them, perhaps even Ling Yi and Daoist Qiuzhe didn't have the ability to intervene in the situation in front of them. After waiting for everyone to retreat, Ling Yi, who was the sect master, dispersed his majestic aura. He respectfully stood beside Daoist Qiuzhe and said, "Master, do you have any other orders?" Daoist Qiuzhe faintly glanced at Ling Yi and said, "That's good. We just need to wait for the third palace's master to finish his task." Yes. Ling Yi's eyes seemed a little confused. Muyu looked at Ling Yi in surprise. He found that Ling Yi was actually under the control of the Divine Soul Formation, but Daoist Qiuzhe, whose cultivation was lower than Ling Yi's, wasn't controlled by the Divine Soul Formation. I'm afraid the Xianling sect master didn't want to cooperate, so he was controlled. This Daoist Qiuzhe should have taken the initiative to join the third palace. Little Shuai said, "It seems like that's the case. It seems like not everyone in the 8 sects is willing to listen to the third palace's orders." Muyu looked at the controlled Guru Ling Yi, and some thoughts flashed through his mind. Just like how the Pill Cauldron sect refused to submit to the Third Layer Palace's Taoist Yundan, and how Shi Dingtian wanted to seize power, Guru Lingyi, as the sect master, must have refused to cooperate with the Third Layer Palace. At this moment, another terrifying fist wind blasted on the soul spell barrier. The fist wind blasted out from the crack. Mixed with the power of the domain, the entire space seemed to become incomparably gloomy. This fist wind went straight toward Ling Yi and Taoist Qiuzhe. The fist wind with the power of the domain made Taoist Qiuzhe, who was in the third heavenly layer, suddenly change his face. "Block it for me," Taoist Qiuzhe shouted. The fist wind of a Deshang realm master was far from what he could block. Ling Yi received Taoist Qiuzhe's order and directly blocked in front of Taoist Qiuzhe. A horsetail whisk appeared from his hand, outlining the image of the three pure Taoists in front of him. Bang! Venerable Spirit Leaf suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. The fist wind in the crack was not something he could withstand with his fifth-layer cultivation base. He was immediately sent flying. As for Taoist Qiuzhe, because of Venerable Spirit Leaf's protection, he was unharmed. Damn, what a powerful force. Fortunately, there's a puppet to block it for me. Taoist Qiuzhe just glanced at the injured Ling Yi with a sneer and turned his attention to the soul spell barrier. He didn't care about Ling Yi, who was injured by the fist wind of a Deshang realm master. Ling Yi's aura was weak, standing in the same place, gasping for breath. His face was still very respectful, and he didn't even think about treating his injuries. "Excuse me, what happened to your Xianling sect?" Mu Yu's gentle voice sounded from behind Taoist Qiuzhe. Taoist Qiuzhe was shocked. He turned his head and saw Mu Yu. He shouted in anger, "Who are you? How dare you break into our Xianling sect?" "I'm here to ask for directions," Mu Yu said lightly. Taoist Qiuzhe shouted angrily, "Ling Yi, capture this guy who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth for me." "Yes, master." Ling Yi raised the horsetail whisk in his hand again and waved it at Mu Yu. The aura of a crossing tribulation realm master swept out, but it was not worth mentioning in front of Mu Yu. "Just tell me the truth honestly." Chapter 1081. Taoist Qiuzhe's eyes slackened. While esteemed Ling Yi was still struggling. Mu Yu pondered for a moment, then said to Taoist Qiuzhe, "Let esteemed Ling Yi calm down." "Yes, Ling Yi, calm down," Taoist Qiuzhe said respectfully. Esteemed Ling Yi immediately stopped struggling. Obviously, as the sect master of Xianling sect, esteemed Ling Yi had to listen to the orders of his junior brother, Taoist Qiuzhe. And when Taoist Qiuzhe was controlled by Mu Yu, he could control esteemed Ling Yi through Taoist Qiuzhe. This is a strange control process, Little Shuai muttered. Mu Yu also felt that this control process was very strange, but he quickly got the information he wanted from Taoist Qiuzhe. Including the Wolf Slayer Taoist who was killed, there were a total of 6 crossing tribulation experts in Xianling sect. Esteemed Ling Yi and Wangu Taoist didn't agree to help the threefold palace, so the two of them were controlled. As the sect master, esteemed Ling Yi was like a puppet, completely under Taoist Qiuzhe's command, dealing with all matters in Xianling sect. As early as 5 days ago, 3 great ascension stage experts came from the threefold palace and sealed off this area. Even Taoist Qiuzhe and esteemed Ling Yi didn't know the reason. The spiritual energy began to become abundant only today. Among the 3 great ascension stage experts, one was called Hall Captain, one was called Han Wuxiang, and the last was Han Jianyue. Among them, Han Jianyue was the strongest. Strange, Master Lu said that the people from the threefold palace went to Wolf Slayer Taoist yesterday to understand the situation, but the people from the threefold palace clearly came 5 days ago. What's going on? Little Shuai was puzzled. Mu Yu frowned and said, "I'm afraid that the people who came to find Wolf Slayer Taoist yesterday weren't from the threefold palace." "Then who could it be?" "We'll know when we see." Mu Yu had already controlled Taoist Qiuzhe. Next, he only needed to erase his memory. The rest would be for Taoist Qiuzhe to remain normal. Muyu needed Daoist Qiu Zhe to be a spy in the Xianling sect. After the establishment of the Shadow Sword sect, he would need more helpers. Daoist Qiu Zhe could control Daoist Ling Yi. He was undoubtedly an excellent chess piece. Boom, boom, boom. Countless cracks had appeared on the surface of the soul technique barrier, and the cracks were becoming more and more shocking. Monstrous fist winds were constantly blasting out from the cracks, and when one of them swept over, Muyu was suddenly startled because he remembered the source of this terrifying attack. White Ape. It's old monkey. Why is he in the spirit in the barrier? Qiu Zhe's was a familiar. White's white. Ling Yi was whites. He was. Long Qiu. It's Qiu Yayu. White burst. When he, Yai had, and Mu. Muyu was Mu. Mu was he. He's Mu, Ling, S, he's Qiu Yu's why. Yang he walla. Another punch blasted out from the soul spell enchantment. The originally precarious soul spell enchantment was suddenly torn apart. At the same time, several shadows rushed out from the fragments of the soul spell. The burly and majestic body of the White Ape Demon King appeared in everyone's field of vision like a mighty god of war. He stood in the air and became the focal point of a domain. White Ape Demon King was accompanied by a middle-aged man dressed in black. His aura was very weak, and it seemed that he was only at the out-of-body stage. However, his whole body exuded an invisible aura of disdain. Even if he was not as powerful as White Ape Demon King, he had his own domineering aura. Although Muyu had never seen this black-clothed man before, he could vaguely guess who this fellow was. He was probably one of the 9 people of eternal life, Demon King Tian Qian, who had just broken free from his seal. The threefold palace had indeed put in a lot of effort to capture the heavenly celestial Demon King. They had mobilized 3 great ascension stage cultivators, and Muyu knew one of them. It was the hall captain whose arm had been chopped off by Qingyan in the gambling city. Until now, the hall captain had yet to reattach his arm. The person from the 3rd palace who was facing the White Ape Demon King had the strongest aura. He was not inferior to the White Ape Demon King. His body was suffused with a holy white light, squeezing the entire void. The power of the domain violently shot out in all directions, as if to tear the entire sky into pieces. This person was the leader of the threefold palace's operation this time. His name was Han Jieyue. Bastard from the threefold palace, you're pretty good. You actually dared to ambush me. The White Ape Demon King looked resentful. There was a scar on his chest, and there was a faint white light in the scar. It was obvious that he had suffered a serious injury. Haha, White Ape Demon King, I'll see how long you can last after being hit by our soul technique. Han Jieyue sneered. The heavenly celestial Demon King said in a deep voice, White Ape, you've been hit by soul binding. You must force this soul power out of you as soon as possible. Don't worry about me. Leave this place quickly. What nonsense are you spouting? If we let you fall into their hands, we'll still have to save you in the future. This is absolutely not allowed to happen. I don't believe that these 3 bastards can defy the heavens. The White Ape Demon King said with a murderous look. Haha, White Ape Demon King, if you were at your peak, we wouldn't dare to find trouble with you. But now you're nothing in front of the 3 people outside. Today, you won't be able to escape even if you have wings. Han Jieyue shouted. The White Ape Demon King roared, and his body instantly grew. In just a moment, he had grown to 100 meters long. His entire body was covered with dense white hair, and he was furious. He looked up to the sky and let out a long roar. The roar was like a muffled thunder that shook the mountains within a radius of several thousand miles. It was deafening. Many Xianling sect disciples who were not strong enough heard this roar and instantly died. The White Ape Demon King's roar was extraordinarily terrifying. Die for me. The White Ape Demon King's domain ability instantly covered his huge fist. He punched out, causing the entire sky to tremble. A sharp explosion with unparalleled power blasted towards the three people from the threefold palace. This punch seemed to have gathered the power of heaven and earth, causing the entire sky to roar violently. Han Jiayue and the other two people's faces changed. They never thought that the severely injured white ape demon king would still be able to burst out with such a terrifying punch. No one knew how much power was contained in the white ape demon king's 100-meter-long body. However, all three of them knew that this punch was simply unstoppable and unstoppable. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The three silhouettes quickly scattered in all directions. They turned into white lights and dodged the fist that could destroy the heaven and earth. The fist of the white ape demon king smashed into the ground. Suddenly, the mountain collapsed and the earth cracked. The rumbling sound was like thunder, and the entire earth shook. Kacha! Kacha! A huge crack spread out, seemingly tearing the entire earth apart. It even destroyed the mountains in the Xianling Sex area. The White Ape Demon King's punch missed, but at this time, the three domain powers converged in different directions and fell towards the White Ape Demon King. Soul Technique Luo-yin. 4 directions, Soul Curse. Soul Technique Luo-yin. Thousand Lanterns Demonic Seal. Soul Technique Luo-yin. Sky Conquering Tyrant Roar. The three domain powers overlapped, and a white myriad soul, dissolving incantation, took shape in the air. Thousands of demonic lamps occupied the entire void. Then, it was as if someone had torn open a 10,000 zhang long hole in the void. Powerful and majestic soul power blasted out from the hole in the sky. The momentum was vast and unstoppable. The White Ape Demon King roared, but he couldn't dodge. Because he was injured, his reaction was slow. At the same time, he had to protect the weak, heavenly Qian Demon King, who had just broken free from the seal. He was hit by the three domain powers all at once. His huge body was like a mountain that was blasted deep into the ground. The terrifying explosion resounded through the sky again, and the ground trembled again. Smoke and dust billowed endlessly. 3 great vehicle stage cultivators joined forces. If it was anyone else, they would have been blasted into nothingness under such terrifying power. However, the deep pit in the ground suddenly exploded with thousands of dust. The White Ape Demon King's body reappeared in front of them. After withstanding the domain powers of 3 great vehicle stage cultivators, the White Ape Demon King still didn't fall. Bastard! I can't believe I was beaten so badly by you 3 little maggots. The White Ape Demon King's eyes seemed to be burning with anger. At this time, his white fur was stained with blood, and there were deep wounds on his back. It was a ghastly sight. As for Heavenly Qian Demon King, he was already in Han Jiue's hands. White Ape Demon King, you are indeed powerful. Even if we had a few more great vehicle stage cultivators at your peak, we wouldn't be able to defeat you. However, this is the end. You have been struck by the soul binding art, and are no longer our match. In order to prevent you from causing trouble for us in the future, we will extract your soul and control you. Han Jiue firmly restrained the heavenly Qian Demon King as his voice was extremely cold. Despicable. The White Ape Demon King glared at the heavenly Qian Demon King who had fallen into Han Jiue's hands. He raised his huge fist and smashed his chest. With a furious roar, he threw another punch at Han Jiue. He wanted to save the heavenly Qian Demon King. However, the 3 domain abilities once again blasted out, blasting the already powerless White Ape Demon King away. Bam! 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 The White Ape Demon King's body shot through the ground like a cannonball, creating a huge ravine that was 10,000 meters long. Hall Captain, capture the White Ape Demon King. Han Jiue said coldly. Yes. The Hall Captain, who only had one arm, took a step forward and swayed in the void, grabbing at the White Ape Demon King. At this moment, the White Ape Demon King was shocked and had no room to resist. The Soul Tribe's various tricks were enough to make the hot-tempered White Ape Demon King succumb. Obediently surrender. The Hall Captain laughed maniacally. However, at this moment, a sword chi that was 10,000 meters long rose from the ground and instantly pierced through the entire sky. It was as if it was going to pierce a hole in the sky. The sword chi in the sky turned into a vortex that was filled with powerful sword intent. It slashed down at the hall captain. "It's the sky sword." The palace guard frowned. The sword intent in the sky had come out of nowhere and was brimming with killing intent. He recognized the origin of the sword with a single glance. When he recalled how his arm had been severed by the celestial sword, his face became ferocious. "You dare to cause trouble in front of me when you are at the tribulation stage." Chapter 1082. Whoosh! The grand and majestic sword chi was grabbed by the palace lieutenant and crushed. It was as though the sword chi was intangible. Just as he was about to sneer and capture the person holding the heavenly sword, his expression changed. The white ape demon king had disappeared, luring the tiger away from the mountain. "Damn it!" The palace lieutenant roared angrily as he looked into the distance. There were two auras fleeing into the distance. "The two of you chase after them. The tribulation stage, heavenly sword, must be Muyu." Han Jiayue roared as he looked coldly at the captured demon king, Heavenly Qian. The mission would be completed as long as they captured demon king, Heavenly Qian. After all, the white ape demon king was a second firmament immortal. It would not be a problem even if he escaped. However, if the white ape demon king was with Muyu, the other two would have to capture Muyu. A stream of light flashed through the air at an extremely fast speed. "Brat, let go of me. Heavenly Qian is still in their hands." The white ape demon king said angrily. "Shut up, old hairy monkey. You won't even say anything if you lose yourself in this state. You can't save him." Muyu roared impatiently. Earlier, when the soul spell barrier was broken, he had Taoist Qiu Zhe and Master Ling Yi take cover while he retreated without making a sound. What a joke. One great Ascension stage guy was hard enough, let alone three. He did not have the ability to force his way out and compete with them. If the one being attacked was not the white ape demon king, he would not even bother to take the lead and let him fend for himself. "Little bastard, are you looking down on me?" The white ape demon king angrily wanted to push Muyu away, but the moment he moved, the wounds all over his body began to ache. The soul spell in his body made him unable to muster any strength. Muyu snorted. "If I look up to you, you don't need me to save you. You're pissing me off. You little bastard. How dare you speak to me like that?" The white ape demon king almost wanted to slap Muyu, but when he raised his hand, he grimaced in pain, which aggravated his wound. He realized that if he continued to slap Muyu, he would be even more unlucky. Finally, he put down his hand angrily. Little Shuai stood on top of the white ape demon king's head and swung his big tail to help him heal. He asked puzzledly, "Big monkey, why can't you even deal with 3 maggots of the Deshang stage? I'm so disappointed. I thought you would crush a little kid to death with a single punch." It's all because of their deceit. They had anticipated that we, the Yao clan, would come here and set up an ambush in advance. I fell for their ploy. Damn it. Next time, I'll definitely kill a little kid with 1 punch. The white ape demon king said angrily. There was no need to doubt the formidable strength of the white ape demon king. However, the people of the third layer palace were crafty and crafty. Even a person like Sieb Bulow could fall into the white domain's trap, let alone the white ape demon king. Muyu flashed out of the Xianling sect's territory and rushed towards the woods. If he were to run in the woods, he would be able to run faster. Now that there was a great ascension stage cultivator chasing after him, he must hurry. What's going on? You guys said that you were going to look for the whereabouts of the heavenly celestial demon king. Why are you here alone? Muyu asked. The white ape demon king became even more annoyed when he thought of this. The people of the third layer palace are also looking for the whereabouts of the heavenly celestial demon king. We don't know where the heavenly celestial demon king is sealed, so everyone split up to look for him. It's all your fault, you bastard. You just had to cause trouble for me. The White Ape Demon King scolded Mu Yu without any explanation. He complained about him in all sorts of ways. Mu Yu was baffled by the scolding. Are you retarded? You were the one who was plotted against. Why are you scolding me? If you had asked Xiang Nan to return Gerfalcon's heart earlier, I wouldn't have to wait until now to know where the heavenly celestial demon king is sealed. The White Ape Demon King snorted angrily. What do the two have to do with each other? Mu Yu asked, puzzled. Nonsense. Of course it has to do with each other. Gerfalcon knows where the heavenly celestial demon king is sealed. When he was with the heavenly celestial demon king, your bastard master sealed the heavenly celestial demon king first, then sealed Gerfalcon. The White Ape Demon King said angrily. If you scold my master again, I'll throw you down and let those 3 maggots bite you to death. Mu Yu warned him, but then again, he didn't know about this. When Xiang Nan took Gerfalcon's heart, he only woke up once. At the time, Gerfalcon didn't say anything. Then, he went back to sleep. How do you know all this? Aren't you supposed to be guarding Gerfalcon's sealed location? Mu Yu's toes tapped on a banyan tree. The banyan tree behind them had begun to grow rapidly, covering their shadows. The White Ape Demon King snorted. Gerfalcon woke up. Mu Yu was shocked. Gerfalcon woke up? Doesn't that mean Xiang Nan returned the heart to you? The White Ape Demon King gritted his teeth. He returned my ass. Gerfalcon woke up, but he still doesn't have a heart. Ouch. Little guy, do you want to die? How can he wake up without a heart? Xiao Shui rudely pinched the White Ape Demon King's wound with his little claws, helping him force the soul power out of the wound. The soul power prevented the White Ape Demon King's wound from healing. It also made the White Ape Demon King feel so much pain that he wished he was dead. If it were anyone else, they would have been immobilized by this soul technique. But the White Ape Demon King was still able to endure it. Mu Yu said, it must be because Xiang Nan injected spirit power into Gerfalcon's heart. As long as Gerfalcon's heart has spirit power, he can wake up. He doesn't have to be there. The White Ape Demon King harumphed coldly. That's right. It's that annoying senior brother of yours. But at least he did something right this time. When Hai Dongxing woke up, the first thing he did was to tell me the approximate location of Demon King Heavenly Qian Seal. It took me a long time to find this place. I didn't think that someone would beat me to it. No wonder the White Ape Demon King had hurriedly sent Mu Yu's family to the Erase sect. It was because of this. What about Sand Eagle Demon King Hai Dongxing? Aren't you afraid something will happen to him? Mu Yu asked. By the time he woke up, he had already broken free from the seal. You bastard, you actually lied to me and said that the seal had been strengthened. That broken seal broke with a single touch. You're asking for a beating. The White Ape Demon King was furious. Mu Yu didn't say anything. In fact, he was the one who weakened the seal. He only told the White Ape Demon King that to ensure Gerfalcon's safety. He didn't want the White Ape Demon King to be hot-headed and save Gerfalcon before he woke up. If that happened, the situation would be even worse. When he laid down the runes, he needed to weaken the seal first before Hai Dongxing could wake up. Mu Yu asked, what about Gerfalcon? He went back to the demon clan. Without a heart, he will fall into a deep sleep at any time. I don't know what your senior brother is doing, but it's best that he doesn't cause any more trouble for me. Something has already happened to Tianqian. I have to go back and get reinforcements. Ouch, little bastard, be gentle. The White Ape Demon King bared his teeth and shouted. His broken ribs were fixed by little Shui. Go back. I'm afraid none of you will be leaving today. Boom! A terrifying aura came from a front. The domain of the great vehicle stage poured out and swallowed the entire forest. The violent tearing force destroyed all the trees and turned the whole forest into ashes. The terrifying soul power rolled toward Mu Yu and the others. Damn it! Mu Yu shouted. Mu Ling had already transformed into a green tree barrier in front of him. Bang! 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 The trees that Mu Ling transformed into were very tough, but the spirit power of the great vehicle stage still shattered them layer by layer. Mu Yu had already flashed out with the White Ape Demon King and continued to escape in another direction. Damn it, I really want to pinch these maggots to death with my own hands. The White Ape Demon King said angrily. Pinch my ass. If you weren't so reckless, would you have fallen into their trap? Yesterday, you went to find wolf-slaying Taoist to pretend to be a person from the third palace, right? Muyu gritted his teeth and increased his speed to the limit. The mountains and rivers around him had only left a shadow flashing behind him. There's also a sharp explosion in the air, but even so, the speed of the great vehicle stage was still faster than him. At this time, the distance between them had gradually narrowed. So what? I'm so angry. A tiger will be bullied by insects. One day I will get it back. The White Ape Demon King clenched his fists. However, Muyu's face sank, because in the direction he was escaping in, there was another aura of the great vehicle stage. Another great vehicle stage cultivator had caught up. Muyu had no time to talk nonsense with the White Ape Demon King who had lost his combat effectiveness. His current cultivation base was only at the crossing calamity stage. It was extremely laborious to deal with a Deshang stage expert, let alone two Deshang stage experts. Therefore, he did not hesitate to turn around and run in another direction. Unfortunately, the palace captain, who was missing an arm, had summoned a wall of white soul power that was tens of thousands of feet long and covered Muyu. Damn it, if it was a normal attack, I would have killed him with a breath. The White Ape Demon King looked at the huge barrier contemptuously. Muyu couldn't help but scold. Are you retarded? Can you not make sarcastic remarks? The sword chi rose from the ground again, communicating with the whole sky. The sword slashed down, and the brilliant heavenly might mixed with tens of thousands of sword light. The dazzling brilliance was like the anger of the heavens. The endless sword chi instantly swallowed the soul power and made a hole. Muyu had already rushed out of the hole with a White Ape Demon King. At the same time, a sharp blade of light whistled from behind Muyu, almost brushing the back of his head. If it was a breath later, Muyu would have been seriously injured by this great vehicle stage domain light blade. Bang! However, Muyu avoided the blade of light, but did not avoid the attack of another person. A sharp white whip was thrown on Muyu's back, making him groan. Fortunately, his physical fitness was extremely strong now, and the other party's attack was also very hasty. Muyu abruptly suffered a blow, and the blood in his body was tumbling, but he still endured it. Little bastard, are you hurt? Are you okay? The White Ape Demon King asked with rare concern. It's none of your business. Muyu's back was burning with pain, as if it was on fire. He felt that his body was almost split in half. The black and white spirit power in his body began to devour and repair his injuries. He took a breath again, and Mu Ling once again rolled out the green shade that covered the sky, blocking the soul power behind him. The power of a Deshang stage cultivator tore apart the verdant trees, but Muyu took this opportunity to pull away from the other party again. The White Ape Demon King said reluctantly, I don't care about your life or death. If it weren't for the worry that Xiao Shui would be a widow, I would have killed you with a slap. Boy, you still have a little conscience and know how to save me. Why are you blabbering on and on about so much nonsense? Hurry up and help me find a way. Two great vehicle stage powerhouses, I will be caught up sooner or later. Muyu said impatiently. Boom. Chapter 1083. After the two of them were sent flying, it was fortunate that the wood spirit had transformed into a tree and caught them in time, pulling them back together. At this time, Muyu's injury was also very bad. The White Ape Demon King's wound that had just healed split open again. Xiao Shui also used his small claws to pull the White Ape Demon King's ears so that he would not be thrown away. Let me think. The best way is to wait for me to recover and kill these two bastards with one punch. Ah, little one, my ears are about to be torn off. The White Ape Demon King said angrily. Your whole body is bound by the other party's soul binding. It will take you an hour to get rid of this power with my help. An hour is enough for them to kill you. Xiao Shui still grabbed the White Ape Demon King's ears and did not dare to let go. Who knew what would happen next? What the hell? Old hairy monkey, you always fail to do anything right. Muyu pulled the White Ape Demon King and dodged another white light. Now, it was impossible to count on the White Ape Demon King to deal with these two people from the third palace. He could only think of another way. Although Mu Yu had powerful array techniques and swordsmanship, these cards made him almost invincible in the face of a crossing tribulation stage cultivator. But in the face of a Great Ascension stage expert with a domain ability, he was helpless. Great Ascension stage experts had a domain ability. He was very clear about what this domain meant. This time, it was not like when he was in the Gambling City. At the Gambling City, at least a few top crossing tribulation stage experts worked together to deal with a Great Ascension stage expert. At this time, he was carrying a crippled White Ape Demon King and facing the pursuit of two Great Ascension stage experts at the same time. It was almost a huge dilemma. Hun Wuxiang and the Palace Guard had already surrounded Mu Yu. You two still want to fight like cornered beasts? Hun Wuxiang sneered. The two domain auras sealed off the area, and white soul power surrounded the two of them. They looked at Mu Yu with eyes full of ridicule. In their eyes, Mu Yu was just a crossing calamity stage cultivator. Now that Mu Yu didn't have the exuberant vitality of the entire city, he was already a turtle in a jar facing the two of them. Damn it, this is going to be troublesome. Mu Yu felt his heart sinking. The White Ape Demon King could not be counted on, but Mu Yu still had a trump card, which was his life and death in the blink of an eye. This was the only domain ability that he could use at present, but there were too many restrictions on this domain ability. Not to mention that he needed to consume a lot of spiritual power. Because he himself was not a master of the Deshang stage, it was impossible to use this domain ability accurately. Unless the opposite person stood in place and stared at him, it was impossible to hit the other party. The life and death in the blink of an idomain ability was too powerful, causing it to move very slowly. Even a master of the Deshang stage could dodge it. Use the White Ape Demon King. He is a master of the Deshang stage and knows how to help you use your domain ability. Gomong's voice sounded in Mu Yu's mind. Mu Yu shouted, "Old hairy monkey, do you know how to help me use my domain ability?" The White Ape Demon King was stunned and said, "What domain ability? I can't even raise my hand now. How can I use my domain ability?" "Not using your domain ability, but using my domain ability. I am not a master of the Deshang stage, so I don't fully understand the rules of the domain. I can't completely control this ability alone. You need to help me." Mu Yu quickly explained. "What domain do you have?" "Oh yes, Gomong's eyes have a problem with blinking. How can he help you?" The White Ape Demon King had seen Gomong before and knew the identity of Mu Yu's body, so he immediately responded. "Shouldn't I be the one asking you this?" Mu Yu felt that he had 8 lifetimes of bad luck to come and save this unreliable guy. He was not a master of the Deshang stage, so he didn't know how to use his life and death ability correctly. He asked the White Ape Demon King in the blink of an eye, and this guy's mouth popped out such a sentence. The White Ape Demon King muttered a few words, and his eyes lit up. "That's right, you are not a master of the Deshang stage, so you are blind when using your domain ability. When you use your domain ability, you can use it on me and use it through my domain. This should reduce the burden of using your domain ability." "Good. Cut the crap. We don't have much chance." Mu Yu held back from scolding the White Ape Demon King's evaluation of him being blind. His whole body's spiritual energy had returned to his eyes. At the same time, his left eye glowed with exuberant vitality, and his right eye flashed with a dark, inky light. The aura of his domain instantly covered the area. The White Ape Demon King put his hand on Mu Yu's back, and Mu Yu's domain ability was immediately guided to the White Ape Demon King. The powerful coercion of the domain was dispersed by the White Ape Demon King, and the spiritual energy was also extracted from the White Ape Demon King's body. This made it easier for Mu Yu to use this domain. On the opposite side, Hun Wuxiang and the palace captain discovered that Mu Yu's body was also exuding the aura of the Deshang stage. They were shocked, but then they sneered. "I forgot that you have Gomong in your body. What a pity you, a man of the crossing calamity stage, want to use the domain of the Deshang stage in front of us. It's simply showing off in front of an expert. Soul Technique Luo Yin. Thousand Lanterns Demonic Seal. Soul Technique Luo Yin. Heaven-conquering tyrant roar. From the previous fight with Mu Yu, the threefold palace already knew that they could not underestimate Mu Yu. Therefore, Han Wuxiang and the palace captain directly used their domain ability, intending to end the battle quickly and not give Mu Yu any chance to resist. White soul beads surrounded the two of them. Suddenly, the soul beads exploded, forming little white soul lamps. Each soul lamp sealed a white soul, making the soul lamps look extremely strange. There were thousands of soul lamps in the air, and each soul lamp had a strong fluctuation of soul power, as if a terrifying force was about to erupt at any time. As for the palace captain who had lost an arm, his soul orb transformed into an indestructible white light that enveloped the entire void. It was as if the void had been covered with a layer of hard armor. At the same time, there were waves of whistling sounds that reverberated in the surroundings. Sound waves rolled in from all directions. Buzz! A chant came from the sky, as if countless ripples were spreading out, and a tyrannical wave swept out with white soul power, covering Mu Yu's surroundings, cutting off Mu Yu's escape route. The soul lamps gradually lit up with white light, and white souls jumped out of the soul lamps, trying to grab Mu Yu. Mu Yu calmly looked at the oncoming sound waves and soul lamps. He did not dare to be careless, because even if he could use the domain of the great vehicle stage, he was still not a real great vehicle stage self-cultivator. Not to mention that there were two great vehicle stage cultivators in front of him. A black beam of light shot out from Mu Yu's right eye. That black beam of light was incomparably sinister, like a black hole that could devour everything in the world. Nothing could break free from this black beam of light, let alone resist it. It caused the hearts of everyone to palpitate. The black light went straight to the floating souls, shattering the sound waves of the Futian Ba'in, and broke free from the seal of the Futian Ba'in, piercing a hole in the sky, and a destructive aura sputtered violently in all directions. Mu Yu's face turned pale. In order to break the seal of the two great vehicle stage cultivators, he had consumed a lot of spiritual energy. Although the pressure was shared by the White Ape Demon King, it was still extremely strenuous. However, he forced himself to calm down, and the shadow, sword light, soared into the sky, merging into the sky, and a vortex appeared in the sky, echoing with the sword light. The sword light was biting cold, like a pool of autumn water, causing the whole sky to tremble. Whoosh! Mu Yu's black light shrouded the sword chi, and even the green sword light was turned into a black sword light. The sword light was like the death brilliance of hell, which could destroy everything in the world, causing the surrounding air to explode and boil, and everyone felt that their breathing had stopped for a beat. What the hell is this? The White Ape Demon King was also shocked to see Mu Yu's sword light. At this time, Mu Yu's shadow sword light had merged life and death, and in the blink of an eye, the sword light had changed, as if the heavenly sword had become the Grim Reaper's weapon to harvest lives. Whoosh! The black sword light tore a hole in the seal of the Futian Ba'in, and even destroyed dozens of soul lamps. The sword light swept towards Han Wuxiang and the palace captain, and countless cracks appeared in the sky, as if the whole void was about to collapse. How can he be so strong? Han Wuxiang and the palace captain were shocked. Originally, they looked down on Mu Yu, but now, Mu Yu's black sword light was enough to pose a threat to them. Whoosh! Whoosh! Han Wuxiang and the palace captain had already retreated, dodging Mu Yu's Grim Reaper's black sword light. The black sword light poured out and slashed the ground, causing the ground to explode. When the sand and trees came into contact with Mu Yu's black sword light, their vitality was directly devoured, and even the essence of the stones were sucked away, turning into a pile of dust. After the black sword light devoured the essence of the trees and sand on the ground, it became stronger and stronger. What a powerful sword light! The heavenly sword. You can actually use the heavenly sword to wield death. Gomong could not help but exclaim. As the owner of life and death in the blink of an eye, Gomong was very familiar with his ability. In the past, when he used it, He would directly devour the essence of all things through his eyes, extracting the vitality that was swept by the black sword light. However, when Mu Yu fused death with the sword light, it reached an extremely strange level. Mu Yu shrouded the death in the blink of an eye in the sword chi, and the burden on his body became much lighter. He was also a little surprised. Originally, he only wanted to control the death in his right eye more accurately, so he wanted to integrate death into the sky sword. He wanted to see if he could use the sky sword to control the power of death in his right eye. The result was unexpected. The sky sword integrated death into the sky sword, and it gave him a feeling of ease. No wonder eldest senior brother said that the heavenly sword is what we rely on. So that's what he meant. Mu Yu nodded thoughtfully. Back then, Qingyan had said that he did not like Rushu's domain ability and that they relied on the heavenly sword. Now, he understood why Qingyan said that. Chapter 1084. Mu Yu held the shadow clone sword in his hand. One of his eyes was black and the other was white. He fired a black sword ray toward Han Wuxiang and the palace captain. With the white ape demon king sharing the burden of the pressure from the great vehicle stage, he could control the power of this domain for a short period of time. Boom! All of Han Wuxiang's soul lamps lit up. Countless white souls formed an indestructible shield and blocked Mu Yu's black sword ray. The black sword ray began to devour the white soul's vitality. Countless sound waves blasted toward Mu Yu from all directions. Just as Mu Yu was about to swing his sword again, his heart skipped a beat. Because he had forcefully used life and death, he had consumed a large amount of spiritual energy in the blink of an eye. It was as if the spiritual energy in his body had been sucked dry. He could not use the sword again. Bang! Mu Yu was sent flying. In the end, he was still at a disadvantage. The combination of Han Wuxiang and the palace lieutenant was really powerful. Even with life and death, he could not withstand the attacks of two great vehicle stages experts. It's over. Let's go. The white ape demon king also noticed the changes in Mu Yu's body. Although the combination of death and heaven sword was very powerful, Mu Yu still had to face the problem of not having enough cultivation. Being able to push back two great vehicle stages experts was already his limit. It was impossible for him to kill any one of them. Seeing that Han Wuxiang and the palace lieutenant's domain abilities were about to hit him, Mu Yu could only forcefully withdraw the heaven sword. He tapped his foot and jumped out again. At the same time, he took out a bunch of pills to recover his spiritual energy. Run north. I've already sent a signal to Luan Feng. If I'm not wrong, she should be on her way. The white ape demon king quickly said. You guessed. Mu Yu's spiritual energy was depleted. It was good enough that he could use Mu Ling's cover to escape with all his might. Unfortunately, he had to bring along an unreliable person with him. He had a guess. Anyway, I was the one who told her to send Hai Dongqing back. She knows where Hai Dongqing is sealed. So, she should be heading north, White Ape Demon King said. Mu Yu quickly pondered for a moment before he headed east. The barrier that Mu Ling had formed behind him had already shattered inch by inch. Han Wuxiang and the hall captain were getting closer and closer. Kid, do you have no sense of direction? The north side is over there. The White Ape Demon King cursed. You asked Luan Feng to send Hai Dongqing back. How could you get here so easily? The Danding sect is nearby. As long as we enter the Danding sect, we will be absolutely safe. Mu Yu said calmly. With Mu Yu's current crazy escape speed, as long as he persisted for half a quarter of an hour after reaching the Pill Cauldron sect, the power of the opening cauldron would be enough to resist the pursuit of these two Deshang stage masters. If he went north to look for the Luan Feng, Mu Yu wasn't sure if the Luan Feng would coincidentally come to meet them. Danding sect? The Danding sect isn't a good place. It's too much of a bastard. White Ape Demon King remembered that when he first broke free from the seal, he relied on Mu Yu's teleportation jade pendant to escape from the Danding sect. At that time, he hadn't fully recovered his strength and was besieged by a group of people. His impression of the Danding sect was very bad. Little Commander was puzzled and asked, Old hairy monkey, Why didn't Demon King Tian Qian's cultivation reach the Deshang stage after breaking free from the seal? I remember that the Sea Demon King fought with the Ghost Realm Child. Shouldn't you be brave and invincible after escaping from the Danding sect? White Ape Demon King snorted and said, "Of course I was brave and invincible when I escaped from the Danding sect. However, Tian Qian was the same as me. His inner core was damaged in the fight just now. He couldn't recover in time, so he couldn't exert the strength of a Deshang stage master. When it rains, it pours. If that wasn't the case, even if White Ape Demon King was plotted against, Tian Qian would at least have the strength to fight against the Deshang stage level 3 palace master. In front of them was a towering mountain peak that peered straight into the clouds. However, Muyu directly broke through the void with White Ape Demon King. With a boom, a huge hole was created in the mountain range that was a few thousand meters in diameter. The entire mountain began to rumble. The hall captain and Han Wuxiang, who were chasing from behind, were even more straightforward. Their terrifying soul power cut through the air and instantly raised the entire mountain range to the ground. They were getting closer and closer. They had locked onto Muyu and White Ape Demon King's aura. It was very difficult to lose them. "Old hairy monkey, lend me some blood." Muyu calmly superimposed formation patterns in his hands quickly. The formation patterns merged into the void, and the entire void shook violently, as if a ripple of water had swept past. He grabbed White Ape Demon King's wound and rudely pulled out a pool of blood from White Ape Demon King's wound. At the same time, scarlet blood appeared in his hands. "Stinky bastard, the little guy almost pulled my ear off, and you're still rubbing salt on my wound. Don't you know that it takes 100 days for an old man to recover from a serious injury?" White Ape Demon King scolded angrily. He was very annoyed that a lot of blood had been taken. "Shut up." The formation patterns in Mu Yu's hands quickly transformed. Under the effect of the formation patterns, the blood quickly condensed into the shadows of the other two White Ape Demon Kings and himself. They were exactly the same as their aura. This is the only way. Mu Yu's hand once again appeared with the poison that he had concocted from Deadwood Daddy. Since his cultivation had been promoted to the tribulation stage, he had basically rarely used poison. However, there were many poisons that were very useful, such as the flowing light that he had liked to use the most in the past. Whoosh! The flowing light was covered by the 8 trigrams formation patterns and instantly dispersed behind them. The places where they passed by were directly detonated by the powerful formation patterns. The whole world seemed to be covered by a dazzling white light, as if the sun had exploded and swallowed everything. The flowing light was a kind of blinding poison. When it exploded, it was enough to produce a powerful light and poisonous fog. The stronger the spiritual power, the more powerful the effect. However, for a cultivator with a high cultivation level, during a battle, they did not rely on their eyes to see their opponents. They locked on to their opponent's aura more. "You actually dare to use such a petty trick to make a fool of yourself?" The palace captain sneered. Although he could not see Mu Yu for a while, he still knew the specific location of Mu Yu and the White Ape Demon King. Normally, it was impossible for them to escape. However, just as the palace captain and Han Wuxiang were about to catch Mu Yu and the White Ape Demon King, both of them suddenly frowned at the same time. This was because, in their perception, there were 2 Mu Yu and 2 White Ape Demon Kings. Moreover, they had split into 2 and fled in different directions. "What's going on?" The palace captain and Han Wuxiang stopped. Because the flowing light limited their vision, they did not notice which one was the real one. However, the aura of the 2 Mu Yu and the 2 White Ape Demon Kings was very real. Split up and chase. The palace guard made a prompt decision. They would not let these 2 people escape so easily. Mu Yu did not expect the flowing light to blind the 2 great vehicle stage cultivators. That was unrealistic. However, in the shocking light emitted by the flowing light just now, he used the formation technique to seal his and the White Ape Demon King's aura and blood into an illusory array. Then, 2 of him appeared and scattered in different directions, trapping the 2 great vehicle stage cultivators. They actually split up. Kid, you look like you're asking for a beating. I didn't expect you to be so smart. Come, come, come. Hurry up and squeeze more blood from my wound. Make more and run in different directions. When the white ape demon king saw that it was only the one-armed palace captain, he immediately volunteered to sacrifice more blood to make an illusory array. Old hairy monkey, are you retarded? If I can make more blood, why would I only make one? The speed of the illusory array over there will soon slow down. In a moment, they will catch up. By then, we will know which one is the real one. We need to get rid of this one. Muyu ran for a distance again. Then he stepped on the void with the tip of his foot. Ripples spread out, and the power of the domain covered his body again. You want to fight him head-on? The white ape demon king asked in surprise. Stop talking nonsense and help me. If we don't take this opportunity to kill him, he will catch up with us sooner or later. Muyu's eyes were shrouded in black and white light. The shadow clone sword appeared again. Good fellow, I like your bad temper. The white ape demon king quickly helped Muyu to draw away the power of the domain, helping Muyu to better control the power of the domain. The palace captain sneered, What? You don't have the strength to run anymore? I don't need to run after killing you. The light in Muyu's eyes became more and more vigorous. He had gradually recovered a bit of spiritual power. At this time, he could use the power of the domain on his sky sword in the blink of an eye. Although it was difficult, he had to fight. Otherwise, he would die without a doubt. Arrogant. With your little spiritual power, even if you have a strange black sword, so what? You are too naive. The palace captain sneered. White soul power rolled out again, intimidating Muyu. However, this time, Muyu's eyes did not shoot out Black Death aura. On the contrary, his left eye surged with white light. The white light shrouded the shadow clone sword. The shadow clone sword rose from the ground. The sword intent in the sky was shrouded by the white light, and the whole shadow clone sword seemed to become stronger. The left eye symbolized exuberant vitality. Whoosh! The sword light in the sky slashed down with endless sword chi. This time, wherever the sword chi went, everything seemed to become thriving. The leaves swept by the sword chi grew into towering trees, and the sand transformed into a huge mountain. Everything was growing crazily. The sword intent in the sky began to evolve into the purest sword. It was simple, but incomparably mysterious. 9 heavenly sword guides, 9 returned to 1. The sword chi slashed down, shattering the void and arriving in the blink of an eye. The palace captain's face changed. This sword was even more strange than the sword chi from before. However, his soul bead had already exploded, and countless ripples appeared in the sky. The ripples seemed to have countless souls chanting. Sound waves quickly spread out from the ripples, and suddenly, a bottomless hole appeared in the mountain range in front of him. At this time, Muyu's white sky sword slashed down again. Don't look down on me, the palace captain roared. White sound waves gathered in the sky, blocking in front of him and facing the sky sword. After the sound waves met the white sword chi, they became stronger and stronger. It was as if they were devouring Muyu's sword chi. Muyu's white sword chi also began to weaken. Haha, you are not a great ascension stage cultivator. Obediently accept your death. Chapter 1085. The white ape demon king exclaimed, Kid, let go quickly. His sound waves will tear your soul into pieces. However, Muyu clenched his teeth and gripped the heaven sword tightly. The white light of the heaven sword gradually dimmed, but he seemed to be waiting for something. Just as the terrifying sound waves were about to engulf Muyu, the palace captain's smile suddenly froze. After the sound waves reached a peak, they began to crack, as if their vitality had been squandered away and they were in a miserable state. Crack! Crack! The sound wave completely turned into dust, and the palace captain's domain also reached its end and began to collapse. But at this time, Muyu's heavenly sword still had a bit of vitality left, and slashed the palace captain's left arm, leaving a wound. You can actually hurt me? The palace guard was furious. He shot out a palm and crushed the heavenly sword into pieces. At the same time, he also sent Muyu flying. "You're still alive?" The White Ape Demon King said regretfully. Muyu stared at the palace captain. The shadow sword in his hand had completely lost its vitality. It no longer had the endless momentum from before. The palace captain looked at Muyu with hatred. He never thought that a great vehicle stage cultivator like himself would be injured by Muyu. Although it was only a small wound, it was enough to humiliate him. Muyu gasped for breath. The spiritual energy in his body had been exhausted to the extreme. At this time, another great vehicle stage aura was approaching from afar and was rapidly approaching. Han Wuxiang, who had been lured away by him, had obviously realized that he was chasing after the wrong target and was now chasing after him again. The situation was getting more and more critical. "It's done. Let's go." Muyu tapped the air with the tip of his foot and turned to leave without hesitation. The White Ape Demon King was stunned and said, "It's done? He only had a wound. You bastard, what nonsense are you talking about?" Seeing Muyu turn to leave, the palace captain sneered. "Do you really think your heaven sword is so powerful?" However, before he could finish his words, his face suddenly changed. His eyes became incomparably shocked. He looked at the wound on his arm as if he was staring at a terrifying beast. He immediately turned pale with fright. "Damn it, what did you do?" There was only a small wound on the palace captain's arm, which was caused by the heaven sword. However, it was this small wound that began to emit a sword aura full of vitality. It surged into the palace captain's hand. It was as if his entire body was boiling. The soul power in his body began to go out of control, and his skin began to swell. It was as if someone had blown a breath of air into the palace captain's body, making him completely lose control. "What is this?" Even the White Ape Demon King was a little surprised, let alone the palace lieutenant. He looked at the palace lieutenant, who was gradually swelling up with astonishment. He opened his mouth wide and suddenly exclaimed, "He's going to self-destruct? Is he stupid?" The aura that was constantly rising seemed to be the palace captain, who was about to self-destruct. "What are you doing, palace captain?" Han Wuxiang had just caught up to the palace captain. He saw the palace captain's body begin to swell, and his aura became chaotic and violent. He cried out in alarm and wanted to stop the palace captain. The palace captain's mouth was wide open, and his face was incomparably hideous. It was as if he was suffering immense pain. His entire body had turned into a round ball. His soul power was flowing nonstop, and his skin was cracking. His eyes were wide open, and he couldn't even speak. "Not good." Han Wuxiang was shocked. He turned to leave. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion rang out with the palace captain as the center. A huge shockwave poured out in torrents, and the entire void seemed to have been torn apart. The sound was deafening, and a violent sound caused the ground within a radius of several tens of thousands of miles to shake. All the demonic beasts were destroyed, and not a single one of them was left alive. Moreover, a bottomless pit was blasted open in the ground. The power of a great ascension stage cultivator's self-destruction was beyond imagination. Muyu tried his best to hide far away before the palace captain self-destructed. Even so, such a huge tearing force still sent him and the White Ape Demon King flying. They smashed into the ground like a cannonball, and the entire landscape had been smashed open by their bodies. Cough, cough. Muyu was smashed tens of thousands of meters deep into the ground. He was completely powerless. The White Ape Demon King was also thrown to an unknown place. At this time, Little Shuai was doing his best to help Muyu block the mountain with his spiritual power, creating a small gap around Muyu. "I don't have any strength left." Muyu opened his eyes slightly. No matter how strong his body was, there were many fractures. He didn't even have the strength to move. The spiritual power in his body had been squandered away. At this time, he was almost relying on his last trace of consciousness to stay awake. The power of a great ascension stage cultivator's self-destruction is too great. This kind of sword technique really can't be used casually. Little Shuai firmly grabbed Muyu and strenuously protected Muyu as they dug underground and quickly rushed out of the ground. "Oh no, Your injuries are too serious. Little Shuai anxiously looked at Muyu. Muyu's arms and legs were cracked, his sternum was caved in, and his whole body was dripping with blood, like a man made of blood. Just now, Muyu had attached the life force of the blink of life and death to the heavenly sword wound. When the palace captain absorbed the life force of the heavenly sword wound, a small wound was cut open by the heavenly sword. Although the wound was very small, the power of his left eye had already entered the palace captain's body, causing the soul power in the palace captain's body to begin to become more active. When the activity reached the peak, even the palace captain could no longer control his own soul power. This caused him to involuntarily explode and turn into ashes. This kind of terrifying sword technique, combined with the blink of life and death domain, was far more powerful than a simple blink of life and death domain. Even the White Ape Demon King and the other two great Ascension Stage cultivators had underestimated this power. However, the power of a great Ascension Stage cultivator's self-destruction was too terrifying. Muyu himself was unable to escape the range of the self-destruction and was already seriously injured. Little Shuai began to help Muyu connect all the bones in his body. However, at this time, the terrifying power of the domain had already poured into Muyu's body again. Hun Wuxiang. Muyu, you are really not simple. Hun Wuxiang's figure appeared above Muyu. His aura had completely locked onto Muyu, and he looked down at Muyu condescendingly. The aura of his body was also slightly chaotic, but he quickly calmed down. As a great Ascension Stage expert, the self-destruction of the Hall Lieutenant's soul power was extremely terrifying. Even Hun Wuxiang had suffered a hidden loss. However, Hun Wuxiang himself was also a great Ascension Stage cultivator. He only suffered minor injuries, but Muyu had completely lost his ability to move. Bastard, why didn't this maggot die from the explosion? Little Shuai scolded as he protected Muyu behind him and glared at Hun Wuxiang. It's impossible to kill me with just this little power. However, I have to say that you have really impressed me. You are not a great Ascension Stage cultivator, but you can use the great Ascension Stage's domain power so perfectly. No wonder the people of our Soul Clan have fallen into your hands again and again. Hun Wuxiang looked at Muyu mockingly. Although the Hall Lieutenant was killed in this operation, Hun Wuxiang did not feel sad at all. For Hun Wuxiang, as long as he could capture Muyu, the death of a Hall Lieutenant was not a big deal. Hun Wuxiang turned his head and looked into the distance. Then, with a wave of his hand, a white soul lamp floated out and directly blasted another mountain to the ground. The soul lamp turned into countless tentacles and grabbed the embarrassed White Ape Demon King from the pile of rocks and smashed him next to Muyu. Damned caterpillar, sooner or later, I will kill you. The White Ape Demon King also seemed to be seriously injured. He was already seriously injured because of the ambush, and, at this time, he was swept by the power of the Hall Lieutenant's self-destruction. He was already half dead, but he was a great Ascension Stage cultivator, so his injuries were not as serious as Muyu's. Little bastard, are you okay? The White Ape Demon King sat up from the ground and asked anxiously. This time, I'm really screwed. Muyu sighed. This time, he faced two great Ascension Stage cultivators alone. Even with the help of the White Ape Demon King and the blink of life and death, there was no way he could escape successfully. Even if he could kill the Hall Lieutenant, it was because of luck. In order to prevent you from ruining our plan, we have decided to kill you. Hun Wuxiang said with a sanctimonious face. The White Ape Demon King shouted angrily, You dare to kill him? He is one of the immortals. If he dies, you won't live either. Hun Wuxiang laughed. Don't worry, White Ape Demon King. In order to kill Jian Ying and Chun Feng's disciple, we have a foolproof plan. Killing Mu you won't make this world collapse. His power will be collected by my soul lamp. The soul lamp floated out of his hand and emitted a holy white light. It was like a lamp that was specially used to guide the gods, making people feel reverence. Whoosh! One soul after another rushed out of the soul lamps and pounced on Muyu with bared fangs and brandished claws. How dare you? The white ape demon king was shocked and angry. He jumped forward and blocked in front of Muyu. Bang! The white ape demon king was directly caught by the souls and was sent flying. He crashed into the distance. I'll deal with you later. Don't worry. Hun Wuxiang sneered. All the souls gathered together again and rushed toward Muyu. Xiao Shui shouted and dragged Muyu back. However, no matter how fast he was not as fast as Hun Wuxiang, who was in the Great Ascension stage. In an instant, Xiao Shui was sent flying with a cry of pain. Muyu was caught in Hun Wuxiang's hand. Hun Wuxiang stared at Muyu and sneered. As long as I kill you, I'll have a great merit. Don't worry, your senior brother will come to find you soon. Muyu looked at Hun Wuxiang weakly and sighed in his heart. I didn't expect an accident to happen this time. It's a pity that I couldn't accomplish what I wanted to do. Muyu was never afraid of death. He was already prepared to die. He just wanted to finish what he needed to do before he died, such as reviving his father and saving his master. The soul lamp shot out and rushed into Muyu's chest. A heart-wrenching pain immediately swept through his body. He felt like his soul was being bitten by thousands of ants, and his consciousness was blurred. It was an unbearable pain, and his soul even began to crack. Just when he thought he was about to die, a mighty aura swept over from afar. This aura was vast and majestic, like a ray of sunlight, and immediately dispelled the pain in Muyu's body. At the same time, the chaos yin and yang in his body began to rotate and integrate into his soul. Under the effect of the black and white yin and yang, his shattered soul began to gradually repair itself. How dare you touch my son? His furious voice was like a thunderclap. An ancient aura rolled out and blasted Hun Wuxiang away. Chapter 1086. That familiar voice made Muyu quiver. Even the pain in his body seemed to have disappeared at once. His mind was completely filled with that deep voice. Dad! Muyu opened his eyes in a daze and looked towards the source of the voice. It was a familiar figure. Although it was very illusory, it still looked so solid. It was like a mountain standing behind Muyu, making him feel a sense of security that he had never felt before. It was Deadwood Daddy. Buzz. A majestic aura swept out and rolled up Muyu, who was in the air, to Kumu's side. Kumu pursed his lips, and his eyes were filled with an anxious look. However, his anxiety was mixed with endless anger. You're hurt. Deadwood was still a soul, but his eyes were burning. It was as if there was a volcano hidden in them that was going to erupt and burn anyone who hurt his son. Muyu looked at the familiar face in disbelief. It felt like a lifetime had passed. He had been working hard for so many years to resurrect this person in front of him and had never given up. He persevered even after experiencing disappointment again and again. At the moment when Hun Wuxiang tried to kill him, his mind was filled with endless regret. He regretted that he had not been able to do it. However, he never expected that his father, who always scolded him, would appear here and save him at the critical moment. Dad! Muyu was speechless. His heart was roaring wildly. He clearly felt that he had a lot to say to this person in front of him. He wanted to tell him how guilty he was and what he had experienced all these years. However, at this moment, Muyu could not say anything. I'll kill whoever hurt you. Deadwood's eyes flashed with anger. Chaotic yin and yang surrounded his body. The powerful power of the great vehicle stage poured out and sealed the entire void, blocking all of Hun Wuxiang's escape routes. Domain ability, no way to survive. The entire void seemed to be shrouded by all kinds of gloomy, poisonous fog. This poisonous fog was extremely terrifying and pervasive. It was as if even spiritual energy could be corroded by the poisonous fog, turning into a highly toxic substance. Nothing could survive in this area. Withered tree, evergreen, you're still alive? Hun Wuxiang, who had just stabilized himself, was also shocked. The cultivators might only know that Deadwood Evergreen was a stuttering poison user, but as a member of the Third Palace, Hun Wuxiang was very familiar with Deadwood Evergreen. This was a person that even the master of the Third Palace, Bai Jie, had to be wary of. Whoosh! The sky-blotting poisonous fog quickly enveloped Soul Faceless. Soul Faceless roared furiously, and his body shone with a white light. Tens of millions of soul lamps spread out to form a white barrier in front of him. At the same time, the countless resentful spirits within the soul lamps radiated powerful light to form massive tentacles, which attempted to tear apart the poisonous fog. Domain ability, Seal of 1,000 Lanterns. 1. The giant hand formed by the soul lamps was extremely powerful. It was like a huge wave rolling over a river, trying to disperse the poisonous mist that blotted out the sky. However, when the giant white hand touched the green poisonous fog, the poisonous fog was not torn apart by the giant hand as expected. On the contrary, the poisonous fog directly adhered to the white tentacle and gradually turned to green. What? Han Wuxiang was both shocked and enraged. After the poisonous mist infected the tentacles broke free from his control and quickly moved toward the soul lamps along the tentacles. In just a breath, more than half of the soul lamps were infected by the green poisonous fog. The resentful spirits within the soul lamps let out shrill cries, as if they could not withstand the corrosion of the poisonous fog. Kacha! Kacha! After being corroded by the poisonous fog, all of the soul lamps gradually solidified and finally exploded, turning into clouds of green poisonous fog. The domain of desperation expanded even more. A look of horror appeared on Han Wuxiang's face. They were both in the Great Ascension stage, but his domain ability could not withstand Deadwood's domain of desperation. In Deadwood's domain, the poisonous fog could not be blocked by soul power. It would only be assimilated by the poisonous fog and become a part of Deadwood's domain. When ordinary poisoners cast their poisonous fog, it would be easily blocked by the spiritual energy of a self-cultivator. However, when the poison was cultivated to the extreme, even spiritual energy would not be able to block the poisonous fog in the no-life, hopeless situation. You die. Kumu stretched out his hand with murderous intent and clenched his fist. The area covered by desperation immediately began to shrink, trapping Han Wuxiang within and wrapping him into a ball. Bang! Soulless let out a heart-wrenching howl of agony as the poison spread. Soulless soul force was completely corroded by the poison, and the poison seeped into his body. Soulless' face was twisted into a hideous expression, and his body was reduced to dust. Not even his soul was able to escape. Deadwood turned around, and mysterious runes appeared in his hands again. They wrapped around Muyu's body, and black and white chaotic yin and yang flowed out. They intertwined with Muyu's chaotic yin and yang and resonated with each other. This is the Pill Cauldron sex territory. Nothing will happen. Deadwood's eyes were filled with worry. Muyu looked at those familiar eyes, and his tensed consciousness finally relaxed. There was only excitement in his eyes, and he did not even think about why Deadwood Daddy would suddenly come back to life. Muyu did not care, and his whole body sank into endless darkness. It felt like a dream. It was very long, and the spring scenery was brilliant. The birds were singing, and the flowers were fragrant. The whole world had become very beautiful. Muyu slowly opened his eyes, and familiar inscriptions came into view. They intertwined and emitted a gentle light. There were 4 chaotic yin and yang shadows in the air, and little Shuai's laughter was mixed in. This was the ruins cauldron. Muyu struggled to sit up, and, as if remembering something, he quickly looked around. You're awake? Deadwood's figure slowly appeared in front of Muyu. Although it was illusory, Muyu felt that it was incomparably real. Muyu felt that Deadwood seemed to be relieved. Yes, I'm awake. Muyu looked at Deadwood and suddenly smiled. His smile was still so pure, like a child who did not know anything about the world. He saw the person he could rely on, as if any danger was not worth mentioning. He thought that when he saw that person again, he would be so moved that he would be speechless and cry bitterly. He would hug the other person tightly and call him Deadwood's father. He would tell the other person that he would definitely not anger him in the future. As long as Deadwood could live well, he would definitely listen to his father's words and pour out all the bitterness that he had suffered for many years. However, the moment Muyu saw Deadwood, he realized that many of his pretentious thoughts seemed to disappear instantly. He was still the optimistic person, and Deadwood was also the strict Deadwood. Even the greeting was so casual, as if they had parted yesterday and reunited today. Nothing had changed. In front of this person who cared about his face, Muyu could not be pretentious. Muyu chuckled. He had thought of many things before. He could not wait to tell Deadwood when he resuscitated him. He wanted to tell him what he had been doing all these years and how much he had missed him. However, when the words reached his mouth, he could not help but speak in a familiar tone. The two of them looked at each other, trying to see something in each other's eyes. It was as if they had met again after being separated by time and space. A familiar person, a familiar gaze. Deadwood opened his mouth as if to say something, but then he suppressed it and simply said, "It's good that you're fine." He was not good at saying anything emotional, nor was he good at expressing his feelings. Even if he was worried, he would only say it simply. Muyu just sat there and looked at Deadwood. He was very worried that this was a dream. The stubborn old man had returned. This was something he had dreamed of, but he felt that it was very unreal. He wanted to take a few more looks to confirm that this was not a dream. "Why do you keep looking at me?" Deadwood looked away. He seemed to be avoiding something and looked a little uncomfortable. Muyu held his chin with his hand and said uncertainly, "I don't know. Why don't you scold me?" Deadwood frowned. "Why would I scold you? I always feel that if you don't scold me, something is missing. It doesn't feel like you." Muyu touched his nose. Deadwood said angrily, "Could it be that in your heart, I'm just a person who likes to scold people?" Muyu tilted his head and pondered for a long time. His eyes rolled a few times, and then he nodded. "Yes, you." Deadwood looked a little annoyed. After a long silence, Deadwood suddenly asked, "Then do the words you said before still count?" "What words?" Muyu did not react. You called me, you said." Deadwood wanted to say something, but stopped. His voice seemed to lack confidence. "Why are you stuttering again?" Muyu asked curiously. Deadwood glared at Muyu angrily. It seemed that he wanted to rush over and slap Muyu on the back of his head again. However, he thought of something and forcibly restrained himself. "Forget it. Pretend I didn't say anything," Deadwood said with a gloomy expression. Muyu was puzzled. "Dad, why do you feel strange?" Deadwood suddenly raised his head and looked at Muyu. It was as if he had heard something that surprised him. His eyes lit up with a glimmer of hope. Muyu suddenly understood and laughed. "Oh, I know you want to ask me if I still recognize you as my dad, right? I don't care about these things." Deadwood could not wait and snorted coldly. He tried his best to pretend that he did not care. It was a classic example of someone who cared about face. "No, I care. Before you left last time, you said that what you wanted most was a son. You inexplicably treated me as your son. I also inexplicably agreed. How can you go back on your words?" Muyu chuckled. A smile appeared at the corner of Deadwood's mouth, but he quickly covered it up. He put on a straight face and snorted. "You have a glib tongue. When will you let me worry less?" Muyu rubbed his head. He found that all the injuries on his body had healed. The spiritual power in his body was even stronger. He was full of energy and very satisfied. Isn't it normal for a father to worry about his son? Muyu let out a long breath. In the air, Big Black, Big White, Little Black, and Little White were running around with Little Handsome on their heads. Their playful voices spread throughout the ruins' opening cauldron. Chapter 1087. When did this happen? Muyu cocked his head to the side and asked. 3 days ago. Kumu knew what Muyu wanted to ask. There was always a tacit understanding between them. How did you do it? Muyu asked impatiently. Chaotic yin and yang. They repair my soul. I only woke up 3 days ago. Kumu replied as he glanced at the hay and a bai in the air. Muyu's eyes widened. Chaotic yin and yang can do that. Then why did I run around in a daze to find a way to help you? That's why you're an idiot, Kumu said bluntly. Muyu chuckled as if it had been a long time since he was last scolded by this person. Dad, that's right. That's the feeling. I feel uncomfortable if you don't scold me. Why are you still asking to be scolded like before? Kumu glared at Muyu angrily. Muyu chuckled. Anyway, it doesn't matter if I get scolded or not. I'm very thick-skinned. It's all because you scolded me in the past. A smile appeared on Kumu's face. However, he then put on a stern expression and said, "This matter is related to your chaotic yin and yang. There's a certain connection between the opening cauldron and the formation hall. I didn't know that chaotic yin and yang could do all this until your chaotic yin and yang ran into the opening cauldron and inadvertently had some effect. It was only a while ago that I gradually recovered." Dahe and Bai leaped over and circled around Kumu. Little Hei and Little Bai also circled around Muyu. Muyu, you're awake? Kumu is panicking. I can see that he's about to jump up and down. He wants nothing more than to resurrect that Hun faceless and kill him a few more times. He almost used heaven-shrouding blood to save you. He didn't relax for even a moment while you were unconscious. It would float around you like a ghost, floating here and there. After half a cup of tea's time, it would check your breath to see if you were dead or not. All right, I forgot that he's a ghost. Xiao Shui did a somersault and stepped around the 4 chaotic yin and yang. Really? Muyu asked curiously. It's fake, the dead tree replied without hesitation. Then we'll just pretend that it's real. Muyu snickered. Kumu glared at Muyu angrily. Why are you still as childish as a child? How old was he? You don't even have the maturity that you should have at this age. When will you grow up? Isn't there a famous saying that I'll always be a child in front of my dad? Muyu pretended to be serious. Famous quote? Which famous person said that? Why haven't I heard of it? Dad would ask. Muyu. Muyu didn't blush at all when he said his name. Anyway, his name had always been wanted in the cultivation world, so he could be considered a celebrity. Kumu glared at Muyu again and said slowly, "What happened to you recently? Tell me. Since your accident, I went to the erased sect and did some things there. Do you want to hear about it?" I know about those things. I even know about you going to the Demon Island. What I want to know is what happened after you put my soul in the Cauldron of Ruins. Kumu interrupted Muyu. You know about it? Who told you? Muyu asked curiously. The dead tree said, "The soul anchoring formation maintained my consciousness. Although I can't speak and look like I'm sleeping, I know everything you do. I've always been by your side. I even know when you turn over in your sleep at night." Muyu exclaimed, "What? You knew what I did by following me? Doesn't that mean that Xiao Shui and I were?" Well, yes, young man. You have good energy. Kumu made a rare joke. Muyu's face turned green, and he scolded. You old pervert! How dare you peek in my privacy? Don't you know that there are some things that you should avoid? You didn't really watch the whole process, did you? That's very dirty and evil. Muyu almost jumped. Who would have thought that Kumu was actually conscious in the soul anchoring formation? Kumu just looked at Muyu indifferently and let Muyu complain. In the end, Muyu sat down again dejectedly. Forget it. I've seen it. I really don't know if I've been unlucky for 8 lifetimes or what, but I can be sure that you're jealous of me doing that kind of thing, right? After all, I'm young and aggressive, so I should slap. Kumu slapped Muyu on the head, and it was a familiar pain. What are you doing? Muyu said angrily. Although Kumu was a soul, he could still exert the cultivation of the great vehicle stage, so it was still very painful. Kumu's face was a little dark. Do you really think I'm that kind of lecher? How could I watch that kind of thing? I was just joking with you, and you took it seriously? Muyu smiled and quickly waved his hand. It's a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. I said that Father is wise and powerful, so he shouldn't do such a thing. I'm just complaining about being kept in the dark. You're right. Kumu snorted. After a while, he thought of something and slapped Muyu on the back of the head again. Why did you hit me again? Muyu asked in pain. That slap just now wasn't enough to vent my anger, Kumu said calmly. 1,000 alpacas galloped through Muyu's heart. In the ruins opening cauldron, there was a soul and a person. It was a familiar scene, as if many things had happened yesterday. So you saw my heroic deeds in the formation sect. 8 steps to heaven. I defeated the sect master of the talisman sect, Chong Tiancheng. How was my performance? SOSO. Out of 10, how many points do you give me? 2 points. What about my battle with Akatsuki? I beat Akatsuki so badly that she had to look for her teeth on the ground. Akatsuki is cunning and has colluded with the gate of hell. She wanted to kill people to restore her cultivation, but I stopped her. 1 point. What about your performance on the Demon Island? I cracked Taoist Master Xianjizi's demon, subduing Pagoda, and fought back and forth with the Japanese from the Gate of Hell. Muyu gestured with his fists. He was very satisfied with his performance in the demon, subduing Pagoda. 3 points. What about the 2 mixed blood dragons I killed in the Demon Island? At that time, I hadn't reached the crossing calamity stage yet. Wasn't it a brave man fighting an evil dragon? 2 points. What about helping you save the Danding sect? Your dearest Danding sect was going to perish, and I pulled it back from the edge of destruction. 2 points. No passing points. No. Not even friendship points. No. Family points. No. Since we are so familiar with each other, give me some face. Oh. Muyu was defeated. It was too difficult to get this stubborn old man to give him 5 points. He looked around gloomily and asked, "Where's your body? I can use life and death now and can resurrect you in the blink of an eye." The atmosphere suddenly became a little quiet. Then the dead tree said faintly, "I'm destroyed." What? Destroyed? Muyu was shocked and immediately stood up. His body was destroyed? He stared at the dead tree and asked, "Do you know that you can't be resurrected without a body? Why did you destroy your body? I can bring you back to life." The dead tree snorted and said, "What do you think?" Muyu looked at the dead tree's eyes, and his chest kept rising and falling. He felt an inexplicable irritation and said in a deep voice, "You know, I was the one who set up the heaven-shrouding blood spell." The dead tree replied coldly. The dead tree was a formation master. He used the heaven-shrouding blood spell to save Muyu and understood the significance of this spell technique. "It belongs to whoever owns it," Muyu said angrily. If he used the heaven-shrouding blood spell on Deadwood Daddy, he would die. However, Muyu never regretted doing this. He didn't think that returning his life to his father was wrong. "I gave it to you," the dead tree emphasized. Muyu clenched his fists. "I don't need it." The dead tree looked at Muyu and his expression eased. He shook his head and said, "You call me father, so I have to accept this title." Muyu said sarcastically, "Then what if I call you a stuttering old man with green hair? You'll take my life back?" The dead tree's tone was very calm. "I don't like to take back things that I've given away." The dead tree's calm tone annoyed Muyu. Muyu had been looking for a way to repair his soul for so many years, and then used the heaven-shrouding blood spell to bring his father back to life. However, the dead tree's simple words negated all his efforts over the years. He felt very angry, inexplicably angry. The anger in his chest became more and more intense. He had been trying to revive the person in front of him to make up for his regrets and his past mistakes. For this purpose, he wasn't even afraid of death. However, the dead tree's simple decision made everything go to waste. He destroyed his own body. Muyu shouted angrily, "Don't think that giving your life to me is so amazing. What's the point of living for others?" He was always so full of himself, thinking that he could do whatever he wanted. "What are you doing? How great do you think you are? Let me tell you, I don't care what you give me. I don't care." He didn't know why he suddenly became so angry. When he learned that the old man had given his life to him, he had been living in guilt. He felt that his life no longer belonged to him alone. The life flowing in his body was like a heavy mountain, pressing down on him until he couldn't breathe. He had been working hard all these years, wanting to do the right thing. He wanted to return things to their rightful owners and cross the hurdle in his heart, even if he couldn't live. However, the stubborn old man was stubborn. The first thing he did when he recovered was to destroy his body. Just like Muyu understood the dead tree, the dead tree also understood Muyu. They both knew what the other would do. Muyu risked his life to revive the dead tree, and the dead tree could risk his life to protect Muyu. Therefore, the dead tree destroyed his own body. He was always one step faster than Muyu. However, Muyu never revealed his plans. He hid it from everyone and made a deal with Gomong. using his own life as a bargaining chip. He did it very carefully and didn't let anyone discover his intentions. However, Muyu didn't expect that the dead tree soul would recover with the help of the chaos yin and yang. The only thing he did wrong was to leave the dead tree's body and soul here. I gave my life away. Whether you value it or not, I have never regretted it. The dead tree didn't look into Muyu's eyes. Instead, he reached out and touched the chaos yin and yang. The chaos yin and yang seemed to calm down because of the ups and downs of their emotions. They were like two docile little beasts, using their heads to nudge their master to comfort him. You don't regret it, but I do. Muyu felt like a volcano was waiting to erupt. He couldn't wait to vent it. His entire body seemed to be enveloped by the power of anger. His figure flashed, and he punched the walls of the cauldron. Violent spiritual power poured out of his body and blasted against the cauldron. Buzz! The entire cauldron trembled slightly. A crisp sound echoed in the surroundings for a long time. He closed his eyes and lay on the ground. His chest couldn't calm down. Chapter 1088. I always wanted you to live for yourself once. Muyu's voice became very hoarse, and his mood was very low. After that punch, he seemed to have personally destroyed all his hopes. Kumu was silent for a long time before responding. Everyone has their own way of living. So your way of living is to sacrifice yourself at all times to live for others? You are not willing to take away Marshal Uncle Yunden's position as sect leader and leave the Pill Cauldron sect. You were clearly an alchemy genius, but you learned the poison arts that everyone avoided and made yourself unpopular. You became the owner of the Ruins Cauldron, but were not willing to take away the chaos yin and yang. You liked Marshal Ant, but silently withdrew. You saved my master for her, and in the end, you even gave up your own life. What did you get in return for living like this? No one understands you. You have nothing. Nothing. That stubborn and prideful person had always lived for others. He had never lived for himself. He had lived in the misunderstandings of others, and even his death was not worth mentioning. No one knew what he had done, and no one knew what kind of person he was. Other than Muyu, no one understood him. Muyu felt that it was not worth it for Kumu. He had always wanted Kumu to live again, to live for himself, and not always accommodate others. What was the meaning of that kind of life? Kumu looked at Muyu lying on the ground. He moved his lips, and his eyes flashed with a satisfied and gratified light. There was no regret or pity. I do not have nothing. I have a son. The person lying on the ground angrily was his son. Muyu stilled slightly. His breathing became hurried, as if something was choking his throat, making him unable to speak. He had a son. These words were like a giant hand that lifted the mountain that had been suppressed in Muyu's heart for a long time. The inexplicable anger in Muyu's chest gradually dissipated. It was as if a ray of sunlight shone into his heart and dispelled his haze. The lost strength slowly returned to his body, and his shriveled chest swelled up again. Some strange emotions surged in his heart and caused Muyu's eyes to become hazy. So what if the world thinks of me? All I care about is my son's judgment. As long as he understands me, that's enough. The dead tree looked at Muyu, as if he was talking to himself, but also as if he was describing a fact. The dead tree's emotions were always so simple that Muyu couldn't refute it. Muyu lay on the ground and looked at the inscriptions above the Kaisu cauldron. He pretended to focus all his attention on it. He could feel his own heartbeat. It was so real. For the first time, he felt that his life had a new weight. It turned out that life could also flow like this. It flowed through Muyu's body in a strange way. Between the two of them, life didn't seem to be just life, but another precious thing. He didn't say anything else. Instead, he was thinking about what life was. What was the point of living? What was the difference between life and death? How did the dead live in this world? Had the living lost their principles and died a long time ago? In the past, he didn't like killing lives. He liked the prosperity of life. However, after leaving the Mayan mountain range, he learned how to kill. He had accumulated countless lives in his hands. He had even buried the entire population of Eastern Sand City with his own hands. When his hands were stained with blood, life became insignificant to him. He could take away those who deserved to die without hesitation. But when it came to his own life, he couldn't let it go. He knew that his life didn't belong to him alone, so he had to return it to that person. The world of cultivation was full of intrigue and deception. Cultivators could kill their fellow apprentices, their masters, and their companions for the sake of some magical equipment. Even if it was family or friendship, they would not hesitate to kill their fellow apprentices for the sake of benefits. He had seen all of this before. For example, the Jiahua School's disciples, Tang Yang and Li Yuan, had killed each other for the demon spirit of the flame horse beast. Shi Dingtian of the Pill Cauldron sect had used his disciple, Su Zai, as a tool for revenge and discarded him after using him. In Wuqiu City, Zhang Gan, as a senior brother, had wanted to kill his junior brother, Wen Li, in order to collect soul points in exchange for the soul-shocking sword. The Valley Master of the Golden Wolf Valley had killed his senior brother and master in order to become Tian Jinqing's disciple. Meng had killed her husband for the twins. Killing for benefits was the norm in the cultivation world. But there were still people in the cultivation world who worked hard for their lives. They wanted to make their lives more meaningful. Deacon Sun had risked his life to fight back in order to help the Gray disciples no longer be humiliated. The nameless swordsman, Pe Jian, was willing to give up his heart for the woman he loved. Master Lu was willing to use his life to atone for his mistakes. Mu Qianna had finally put down his dignity for his family. Old Turtle and Boss Lu were willing to sacrifice themselves for the Sea Goblin King. Taoist Yundan was unwilling to submit for the sake of righteousness. Master Medicine was willing to endure humiliation in order to protect his disciples. Xian Jingtang's family was unwilling to betray their benefactor. Old City Lord He Jinglong was generous and sacrificed himself for a righteous cause. Village Head Grandpa was willing to protect Mu Yu even though he had no cultivation. Just like Tian Ran, who had sacrificed her life to save him. Just like Deadwood Evergreen, who had always lived for others and had given up his life. Just like Sword Shadow Chun Feng, who had sacrificed his monstrous cultivation and even endless life to protect the world he loved. Mu Yu had never understood what life was. He could feel the flow of life, but he couldn't understand it. When the life in his body became heavy, he couldn't give it up. He couldn't understand. He clearly understood every word and action of this strange old man in front of him, but he just couldn't understand. What was life? What was the purpose of cultivators using their limited lifespan to cultivate? Was it just to become stronger? Or was it to explore the breadth of life? The length of a person's life was about the same, more or less a few decades. But the breadth of a person's life was different. The breadth of some people's lives was as thin as a thread. Their lives were narrow, and nothing could be left behind after they died. Some people's lives could be as wide as the sea. Their lives were vast and mighty, but the things they left behind were like a surging tide. Living a vigorous life for oneself was life. Living for others at all times was also life. Mu Yu looked at the inscriptions above the ruins' opening cauldron. Deadwood looked at him silently. "You're very important to me," Deadwood said reluctantly, breaking the silence. Mu Yu closed his eyes and took a deep breath. "Although I'm not a responsible father, no father is willing to let his son lose his life," Deadwood said. "Then what about me? Should I just watch my father live like this?" Mu Yu asked in a low voice. "Your life is more important than mine," Mu Yu said coldly. "Do you look down on yourself that much? You're also a rare genius in the world. Be it formations, alchemy, or poison, you're proficient in everything. If you live, how can Bai Jie act so unscrupulously? Bai Jie is somewhat afraid of me, but he understands me and knows how to deal with me. You're different. He doesn't understand you, so you have the advantage. You have the chi of life and death in you, and you're also someone with eternal life. The heavenly sword and formations, as well as Spirit Lord Yumeng's domain, you could surprise him," Deadwood said simply. After a while, Deadwood said, "In order to protect the world your master guards, you must live." Muyu clenched his fists. Why do I have to protect this world? Because Feng Haochen left this matter to you, Deadwood said. Muyu sat up again and gritted his teeth. His thoughts were in a mess. His master wanted to protect the entire third layer of heaven. For everyone in the third layer of heaven, his master was willing to make any sacrifice, cultivation, or life. But Muyu didn't want to. Muyu never thought of himself as great. He was just a person. Now that he had great power, he was still a person. He didn't destroy his 7 emotions and 6 desires, so he had human emotions. The cultivators were sinister and deceitful. When he came out of Luochen Mountain, he thought he would inherit his master's will to protect the cultivators and become the so-called savior. But when he saw the ugly side of the cultivators, he was tired. He realized that not everyone was worth saving, especially when the cultivators began to slander Jian Ying and Chun Feng. Muyu was furious to the extreme. For this world, his master had made great sacrifices. He had never done anything wrong to the world, but in the end, what did he get? Slander, destroy his statue, and kill his disciple. No matter how sinister and cunning the third layer palace was, it wasn't an excuse for the cultivators to slander Jian Ying and Shen Feng. As long as they had a little brain, they wouldn't suspect a true god just based on a few words. Could it be that the people his master wanted to protect were these stupid, cowardly, ungrateful cultivators? If so, then Muyu couldn't do it. He could go through fire and water for the people he cared about. Even if he had to give up his life, it didn't matter. He wasn't afraid of death at all. He could risk his life to protect his family in Clearwater City, his loved ones in Luochen Mountain, the villagers in Flowing Water Village, Xiao Shui and Tian Ran, Elder Sun, Master Lu, Taoist Yundan, Medicine Master, and Zhuge Shaosheng. He could protect Xian Zhongtang's family and the old city lord who had nothing to do with him. He could protect the fearless Little Dawn and Little Qing Fan. He could fight and kill to protect these people. But he would never blindly throw his life away for those selfish and stupid cultivators. I don't want to protect this world. Muyu clenched his fists. Dead Tree just looked at Muyu. He understood Muyu and knew what Muyu was thinking. Dead Tree was also clear about the situation in Eastern Sand City. Even if the killing power affected Muyu and made him unable to distinguish right from wrong and lose his own judgment, Muyu still tried to maintain his last bit of rationality and let the righteous Old City Lord make the decision for him. If the Old City Lord wanted to save everyone in the city, he would save them. At that time, Muyu, who couldn't control the killing power, could only hope that he didn't do anything wrong. If the people of Eastern Sand City hadn't killed the Old City Lord and become the last straw, Eastern Sand City wouldn't have been destroyed by Muyu with his own hands. Now, Muyu suppressed the killing power, but he had seen through the nature of the cultivators. It was very difficult for Muyu to put down his prejudice and save everyone. Chapter 1089. One soul sat while the other lay down. After an unknown amount of time, they remained silent. Under Little Handsome's lead, Big Black and Big White began to play with Little Black and Little White. They ran happily in the air. Little Handsome's laughter was very crisp, bringing a hint of vitality to the dull atmosphere. Muyu changed the topic. Do Uncle Master Yundan and the others know about your resuscitation? Deadwood shook his head. They don't know yet. Why not? I've been recovering since the resuscitation, so I didn't have time to tell them. If my chaotic yin and yang hadn't sensed your chaotic yin and yang and discovered that you were in danger, I would still be in seclusion. Nothing will happen to your soul again, right? Muyu asked. The Cauldron of Ruins is what my soul relies on to survive. As long as it's here, I'm here, Deadwood said. Doesn't that mean your freedom has been restricted by the Cauldron of Ruins? You win some, you lose some. You can control the Cauldron of Ruins to leave the Pill Cauldron sect, right? I won't let it leave the Pill Cauldron sect. Muyu fell silent. The Cauldron of Ruins was a treasure passed down by the Pill Cauldron sect. It protected the entire sect. In thousands of years, Deadwood was the last owner of the Cauldron of Ruins. The Cauldron of Ruins was under Deadwood's control at all times. As long as Deadwood was willing, He could take the cauldron of ruins anywhere. However, Deadwood wouldn't do that. He always believed that the cauldron of ruins was a treasure of the Pill Cauldron sect and didn't belong to him. Even if the third heaven is being toyed with by the Spiritas? Muyu asked again. You have to deal with these matters, Deadwood said. Muyu fell silent. What about Demon King White Ape? Did you save him? Yes. Muyu nodded. Looking at Deadwood Daddy's soul, he couldn't be angry anymore. Even though he knew that Deadwood Daddy could only live in this form. Even though he was very sad, the person who could do such a thing was the person called Deadwood Evergreen. Only this person could do such a thing. This matter couldn't be more natural. His heart calmed down, and the depression in his heart dissipated. Muyu tried his best to squeeze out a smile. He didn't want to be entangled in all this. So he returned to his former playful self and asked, Are you proud of me? No. Muyu sighed. He would never get a positive compliment from this stubborn old man. Muyu had a lot of questions that he wanted to know about the resurrection of the withered tree. He thought of something else and asked, Father, what exactly is sealed in the world crack? Is there a world aperture under your valley? The dead tree said in surprise, You even know this? I've been to the chaotic burial valley in the Moyen mountain range, an abyss on the other side of the sea, and the great abyss of the demon race. You know all these. Later, I went to the underground of the gate of hell. You probably don't know about this. Grandpa Village Chief used a map to draw 8 places, and one of them is the valley you're in. Muyu told him everything that had happened after he left the Pill Cauldron School. He even told him about his own discovery. The dead tree nodded and said, This formation is very powerful. It's not weaker than the immortal confinement prison. Feng Haochen personally set it up to protect the entire 3 continents. It greatly restricts the movements of the strange races in the 3 heavens. You guessed right. There is a seal under the valley, but it has been sealed by me. The crack in the garden of 50 miles in the south has been sealed by Siebulo, and the crack in the demon race has been sealed by Green Dragon Demon King. Bai Jie doesn't know about these places. Even if he finds them, at least the 3 places I mentioned are safe. Then why are the Danding sect and the Formation sect in the yin and yang positions of this formation? Muyu asked again. The dead tree said, The opening ruins cauldron and the formation hall are the eyes of this protective formation. This is also why I can't let the opening ruins cauldron leave the Danding sect. You can't let the formation hall leave the formation sect either. Muyu didn't know that the formation hall was the eye of the 3 heavens protective formation. And should I go to the other 2 places to take a look? Muyu asked. Your top priority now is to comprehend your own domain and become a great ascension stage person, the dead tree said. It was very difficult for someone who hadn't become a great ascension stage cultivator to gain an advantage in front of the soul race. You will help me, right? Muyu asked as he looked at the chaotic yin and yang. I will give you time to cultivate, but as for what kind of domain you will comprehend, it will all depend on your own perception. The dead tree waved his hand, and the 4 chaotic yin and yang suddenly jumped down. They were controlled by him and kept spinning and chasing. Also, you haven't really learned how to control the chaotic yin and yang. It is a waste for the chaotic yin and yang to follow you. In the past, if you knew how to control the chaotic yin and yang, facing the gate of hell and the dragon race, you would have been crushed. Shimenwuji and Wanwan are probably several times stronger than you, so you must properly learn how to use the chaotic yin and yang. Muyu helplessly shrugged. He had just told the dead tree about Shimenwuji and Wanwan, but at least the 2 of them had Siebulo to guide them, but Muyu didn't have anyone to guide him on how to use the chaotic yin and yang. Now that there was an expert who knew what was good for him, Muyu hurriedly said, Then you can also tell me how to fully utilize the chaotic yin and yang's power. You definitely can't bear to see your son walk out and embarrass you, right? Oomph. The dead tree coldly snorted. Muyu took it as a yes. Above the white clouds, a waterfall fell from the sky as if it was pouring out from a crack in the sky. It landed on the clouds and made a crisp sound. There were birds flying around the waterfall, and the sound of birds chirping rose and fell one after another. A breeze blew past, and the clouds slowly floated and rippled. Big black, big white, and little white had already drilled into Muyu's body, and with the help of the dead tree, the chaotic yin and yang quickly constructed a strange space inside Muyu's body. The waterfall above the ninth heaven seemed to have suddenly stopped, and the water splashed onto the clouds and stopped in midair, as if it was fixed by some strange power. The wind also seemed to have disappeared halfway. The floating clouds no longer moved, and the birds also stopped in midair, still maintaining the state of flapping their wings. To use the chaotic yin and yang's power, you need to have a balanced state of mind. At that time, when you comprehended the 81 inscriptions, you should know what balance means. This world is made up of balance, and with spiritual power as the medium, fuse them into a perfect state of balance. The dead tree's voice echoed around Muyu, using his own method to teach Muyu how to control the chaotic yin and yang's power. Muyu carefully felt the peaceful power from the chaotic yin and yang. He had used the chaotic yin and yang many times, but almost every time, he didn't fully use the chaotic yin and yang's power. The dead tree said that every time he used the chaotic yin and yang's power, it was almost always on the surface, and he didn't have a deep understanding of the chaotic yin and yang's mysteries. The dead tree didn't explain too much to Muyu. All he could do was guide Muyu through the basics, and the rest was up to Muyu to learn in his own way. When the dead tree controlled the chaotic yin and yang, he had the guidance passed down by the ancestors of the Pill Cauldron sect, so he knew what to do correctly. After Muyu obtained the chaotic yin and yang, he didn't have any guidance. When Muyu obtained the recognition of the Array Palace didn't have any cultivation methods left behind by the ancestors. Even the Array Heavenly Tao didn't obtain the chaotic yin and yang, so the chaotic yin and yang didn't have much use for Muyu. The chaotic yin and yang was the purest balance in the world. All of this was very similar to the power of the underworld grass. The underworld grass also had life and death aura. Now, it had changed his spirit power into the dangerous black and white power. His body seemed to contain a great killing machine. Once he lost control, there would be unpredictable consequences, so he didn't dare to break the balance of the black and white spirit power in his body. Just like the dead tree said, this world existed because of balance. Just like Goemon's powerful life and death in the blink of an eye, he relied on the power of life and death to kill people. Goemon's domain power was also a type of balance. Losing balance would have very serious consequences. Just like the 5 elements in a person's body, the 5 elements must reach a certain amount for a person to survive. The closer the 5 elements in a person's body reached a balance, the longer a person's life would be. When the 5 elements reached a perfect balance, one could achieve immortality. When the 5 elements were seriously lacking, it was impossible to survive. For example, Muyu's 5 elements were wood. He was a person who was destined to die early, but he was lucky enough to survive. If he wanted to control the chaotic yin and yang, comprehending the way of balance was the most important. What is the way of balance? Is it the mentality of not being happy with external things and not being sad for oneself? Or is it to be calm in the face of change? Muyu pondered. Unknowingly, his body began to circulate the falling dust cultivation method. The falling dust cultivation method focused on a kind of calmness. Moving in calmness, one would comprehend a kind of tranquility. This was also a kind of balance. Their master often taught them to rely on their heart to do things. As long as they had a clear conscience, even killing people was right. A clear conscience, was this also a kind of balance? The black and white spirit power slowly circulated in Muyu's body. The falling dust cultivation method led the black and white spirit power to chase after the strange balance. Muyu's heart also became very calm. He seemed to be grasping something, but he was just an inch away. Everything in the world was mutually reinforcing and restraining. There was no absolute strong, and there was no absolute weak. This was also a kind of balance that existed in the world. The balanced aura of chaotic yin and yang surrounded Muyu. He thought of life and death in the blink of an eye. This was a strange ability, but Mu Yu's use was very limited. Even if Gomong wanted to use the power of life and death to fight with a Deshang stage cultivator, it would be difficult for him to take advantage because the light of life and death in the blink of an eye could hardly hit others. However, Mu Yu used the indestructible characteristic of the heavenly sword to lead the power of life and death in the blink of an eye to the heavenly sword. Combined with his swordsmanship, he played this domain ability to another level. Even Gomong did not expect that his domain ability could be used like this. Mu Yu was able to use the heavenly sword in life and death in the blink of an eye to kill the palace guard. The most important thing was the heavenly sword. If it was any other magic weapon, it would be difficult to control the power of life and death in the blink of an eye. However, the heavenly sword would not. This sword was too powerful. Coupled with the unparalleled swordsmanship of the heavenly sword 9 draws, it allowed Mu Yu to play the domain ability of life and death in the blink of an eye to the fullest. Chapter 1090. Seeing that Mu Yu had entered a meditative state, Deadwood breathed a sigh of relief. He knew that what Mu Yu needed now was time. All he could do was make sure that no one disturbed Mu Yu. He then turned and left the Revelation Cauldron, reappearing before the White Ape Demon King. The White Ape Demon King was inside a sealed array formation of the ancient transmission array of the Pill Cauldron School. It was similar to the ancient scripture pavilion of the Pill Cauldron School. Apart from the Dead Tree, no one in the Pill Cauldron School knew about this place. The Dead Tree knew more about the ancient transmission array of the Pill Cauldron School than anyone else. The White Ape Demon King's wounds had healed, but he looked very weak. Clearly, he had suffered a great injury and had yet to fully recover. Mu Yu woke up quickly with Deadwood's help and Mu Yu's powerful recovery ability. He was still alive and kicking. However, the White Ape Demon King was different. Although he was an old Demon King, he had been hit by the Spirit King's special soul-binding ability. It would not be easy to recover. The White Ape Demon King opened his eyes and looked at Deadwood. "I recognize you. You are Deadwood Evergreen. You are the father that Brat keeps talking about." Deadwood snorted. "Because of you, Mu Yu is almost killed. You cannot escape the blame." The White Ape Demon King's face twitched. "How is he? Is he okay? If anything happens to him, I guarantee that you will never be able to come out of the seal," Deadwood said coldly. The White Ape Demon King stood up and stared at Deadwood angrily. "Are you threatening me?" "Yes." Kumu was not at all courteous when he spoke to the White Ape Demon King. Although he was only a soul now, he was able to wield domain powers with the help of the Kai Su Cauldron. Coupled with his powerful array techniques, it would not be easy to seal the White Ape Demon King in a Dao item like the Kai Su Cauldron. The White Ape Demon King's arrogance made him hate being threatened the most. However, it was undeniable that Deadwood Evergreen was an expert who was looked down upon by others. He had the confidence to say that. If Deadwood had used the power of the Kai Su Cauldron to seal the White Ape Demon King, the injured White Ape Demon King would not have been able to do anything. The White Ape Demon King glared fiercely at the Dead Tree. He originally wanted to curse, but in the end, he sat down again and reluctantly said, "It's good that he's fine. This is my fault. I don't want to argue about anything. You demons now have 4 demon monarchs. Don't you think it's funny that you're the only one here to receive Demon Monarch Heavenly Qian? 9 people of eternal life have fallen into the hands of the white world. Are you people of the shifter race so weak?" Kumu said. The White Ape Demon King frowned. He didn't like Deadwood's tone. "The way you talk is very similar to that, Brat. It's annoying. This has nothing to do with you." Deadwood didn't seem to like the White Ape Demon King at all. "How is it not related? Xiao Shui is my daughter. Do you think I have anything to do with her?" The White Ape Demon King said in a mocking tone. "Speaking of which, if you are the little bastard's father, you will be Xiao Shui's father-in-law in the future. That means we will be in-laws in the future, right?" Kumu was startled for a moment. The term in-law made him feel a little strange. In the past, He rarely thought that there would be a time when he would become Mu Yu's in-law. He suddenly realized that after he became Mu Yu's father, it seemed that he would have to face this problem. Then, his expression seemed to have eased a lot. Then, he thought of Tian Ran and said, "Don't try to get close to me. Who Mu Yu likes is his business." The White Ape Demon King maliciously said, "I heard you and Jianing Chun Feng don't get along. Let me think. Mu Yu likes Jian Ing Chun Feng's daughter. Are you willing to be in-laws with Jian Ing Chun Feng in the future? I think you helping Mu Yu make a choice is very smart. I'm easier to talk to than Jian Ing Chun Feng." Deadwood's face became very dark. He had never considered this problem. He already didn't like Jian Ing Chun Feng. Suddenly, the White Ape Demon King said such a thing without rhyme or reason. It was undoubtedly adding fuel to the fire. However, Deadwood quickly calmed down and said, "Those two girls are good, but whether it's Jianing Chun Feng or you, I dislike them both. Don't try to change the topic. Let me ask you, what are you demons planning?" "Planning? What can we plan?" The White Ape Demon King said disdainfully. Deadwood said coldly, "Mu Yu doesn't know what happened in the past, so he can't see it." "Do you think I can't see it?" When he went to the demons, whether it was the poisonous fog of the ruins or some strange aura there, they were all very abnormal. Although I couldn't move at that time, I still know a lot of things. Don't play dumb with me. The White Ape Demon King was really surprised this time. You were just a soul at that time. How could you see it? The White Ape Demon King didn't know that Deadwood's consciousness was awake in the soul anchoring array. Deadwood asked coldly, "Do you want to do that again? Have you set your sights on the seal of the ruins?" The White Ape Demon King's expression changed slightly. Only then did he put away his playful expression and become very serious. "So what if we do? Someone has to do it. We just don't want to live so sullenly. You're doing it blindly and brainlessly. You are destined to fail," Deadwood said indifferently. "Is that so? That might not be so." The White Ape Demon King's eyes shone with high fighting spirit. "Even 3 Mayana stage spiritlings can beat you up like this, and you still have the nerve to do that," Deadwood said coldly. The White Ape Demon King's face flushed red. He said angrily, "I was just too careless. They used underhanded means to trip you up. If you face them head-on, what are your chances of winning? You can't even protect Demon King Tianxian, and you dare to challenge them? How much strength do you demons have now? How much of your cultivation have you recovered?" White Ape Demon King was rendered speechless by Dead Tree's words. He roared angrily, "If it weren't for Sword Shadow and Dust Wind who had sealed me for thousands of years and obliterated my cultivation base, I wouldn't be in such a sorry state. If it were in the past, those maggots in the third palace wouldn't be able to hurt me no matter how many underhanded methods they used. I could even beat Bai Jia until he was looking for his teeth on the ground." Deadwood said mockingly, "You know that was in the past. Then what right do you have now?" The White Ape Demon King looked angry. He shouted, "You didn't do anything. What right do you have to tell me what to do? I'm just warning you. I don't care if you demons want to die, but don't drag the entire third heaven into a land of injustice. The demons living at the edge of the ruins have a strange illness. Don't you understand?" Deadwood said coldly. The White Ape Demon King was shocked. "Wait, you're saying that the strange illness of the demons in the Valley of Dawn has something to do with this?" The demons in the Valley of Dawn had a strange illness. It wasn't a serious illness, but when they slept at night, strange patterns would appear on certain parts of their bodies. Some of them would be controlled involuntarily and do unimaginable things. The old doctor in the Valley of Dawn had consulted Mu Yu, but because the illness was very unique, Mu Yu couldn't diagnose it. In addition, when the illness acted up, it would hurt and wake people up. Once they woke up, they would be fine. So the matter was left unsettled. However, Deadwood, who had been in the soul anchoring formation, knew everything about it. He also understood what this illness of the demons meant. "Their illness has something to do with this?" The White Ape Demon King asked doubtfully. "We all know what kind of place the ruins are. The ruins' poison can torture you demons so badly. You still want to do something to the ruins?" Do you think the heavenly enforcers will allow you to do so? Deadwood hit the nail on the head. The white ape demon king's expression changed. He didn't expect Deadwood, who was just a damaged soul, to be able to see so much. Even the demon kings didn't care about the strange illness of the demons. They had always thought that it wasn't important. He looked anxious. You mean to say that those fellows in the ruins are preparing to cross the ruins and come to us? But the ruins' poison is fatal to them. That's why they're targeting the demons. They're taking over their souls and controlling them. They're using another method to cross the ruins. Right now, they're only at the invasion stage. If we don't stop them, the situation will worsen. When that happens, it'll be too late for you to regret it. Deadwood said. The white ape demon king recalled something. His expression darkened. How can this be? The strange illness in the Valley of Dawn was caused by this? We didn't think of this. We thought that we were careful enough and wouldn't be caught by the heavenly enforcers. The heavenly enforcers sent the soul race here. Dealing with the soul race is already tiring enough. Instead of focusing on the white world, you demons overestimate yourselves and scheme. If we don't stop, the trouble we'll have to deal with won't be as simple as the 3 palaces. Deadwood said. The white ape demon king was hesitant. He thought for a long time before saying, I'll explain this to the Azure Dragon. We've all overlooked the details. But how did you know that the illness of the demons in the Valley of Dawn had something to do with this? Deadwood was silent for a moment. After a long time, he slowly said, I've been to the other side of the ruins. The ruins was a place filled with yellow, poisonous fog. The demons were terrified and didn't dare to get too close. They didn't expect Deadwood to have been to the ruins. The white ape demon king looked at Deadwood thoughtfully. Despairing realm, your domain. I understand now. The ruins' poison isn't even worth mentioning in front of you. So that's how it is. Everyone underestimated you. It's rare for humans to have someone like you. No wonder Jianing and Chun Feng thought so highly of you. It's a pity that the other people in the cultivation world don't know how to appreciate a freak like you. It's their loss. It's useless for you to flatter me. I don't need others to appreciate me. You should know what you have to do. Deadwood said emotionlessly. Then do you have a way to cure the illness of the demons? Yes. How? Thought you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.